will meet three-division world champion Manny Pacquiao in a long-awaited rematch of a legendary battle.
We had this enormous noise, the cheering by the Mexican crowd, the flags were everywhere. The Filipino crowd was the same thing, maybe even louder.
Right now, this is the most exciting fighter in boxing. He certainly has the most excited fan following.
Talk about.
Their first fight was one of the most fascinating fights of the last several years.
We knew it was going to be exciting. We didn't expect it to be so explosive.
Pacquiao has great talent. Marquez is no sparring partner.
Manny Pacquiao jumped on Marquez, who wasn't accustomed to people attacking with abandon. And when he hit him with this hurricane, Marquez didn't know what to do.
Marquez down, great left, gets up, and his legs are strangers to him.
Manuel Marquez, being the enthusiastic warrior that he is, he kept coming forward.
I think that second knockdown was the most brutal, and he just didn't look like he was going to get up.
He kept getting hit with the same punch, hard left hand.
He was down, and then down again, and then down again.
Third knockdown of the first round.
And pretty much everybody on press row is just kind of looking at each other like, well, you know, this fight's over.
Manny Pacquiao is a storm. Juan Manuel Marquez hasn't ever seen anything like that.
I just couldn't throw away in less than 3 minutes everything that I worked so hard for.
You can't afford to lose any rounds, because if you lose one, you're going to lose the fight.
The fight is over, I thought, but I'm surprised that, you know, his staff and he recover and, you know, he fight back.
More and more, Pacquiao's missing with the left, while Marquez is landing with the counter right. Hard right hand stuns Pacquiao.
He had so much success early with the left hand, he kept just using it over and over again. Marquez is too smart a fighter to beat with one hand.
Manny, do not let him back you up and take control of the fight, you hear me? You be the boss out there, son, okay?
Marquez is unbelievably carrying the action.
Marquez may be within range of coming back to win the fight.
There's really no explanation for it. It's just a guy who refuses to lose.
Fire against fire, down the stretch. Pacquiao's left, Marquez's right. What a battle.
To his credit, he fought back to a draw.
We have a majority draw.
The fight, I thought I've clearly won. They ended up calling it a draw. And even though I've kept the 2 championships I was defending, I felt a little frustrated because we'd done all that was necessary to win.
I'm surprised in that decision, but, you know, it already happened. What are we gonna do?
This is one of the great comebacks, not just in boxing, in sports.
It was 2 fights in one. One lasted 1 round, and the other one lasted 11 rounds.
Before every good match, my first hope is that it is so good that we want to see it again. And that was so good that finally we're going to see it again.
Down he goes. Fire against fire. Marquez coming back. Stuns Pacquiao. We have a majority draw. What a battle.
Now the rematch. Marquez carries the weight of a nation.
Hard right hand by Marquez.
Pacquiao has taken down the last 2 Mexican stars.
Pacquiao is a storm.
Who will be the last man standing?
2 real fighters.
Marquez Pacquiao 2, Saturday, March 15th, live on pay-per-view. Contact your pay-per-view provider to order.
Despite his amazing comeback, Marquez's climb to world champion took quite a different path than that of his Filipino foe.
Juan Manuel Marquez has been in the shadow of Eric Morales and Marco Antonio Barrera.
He was never as strongly embraced by the Mexican fan base as those two. He was always that third guy.
They didn't fight him back in their primes and so forth because he was a great counterpuncher, and it was just a style that would make them look bad even if they won the fight.
Marquez lands a big left hook.
Eric Morales didn't want to fight him. Barrera finally fought him, and Marquez beat him.
Uppercut for Marquez. Left hook. Barrera stunned.
As you have seen in the Barrera fight, he knows how to capture these moments.
He's showing that he certainly belonged in the discussion. Right there with Barrera and Morales and Pacquiao. No question about it.
Sometimes when you are the best in a particular weight class, you're being avoided.
Here's a guy who is not easily deterred. And I'm not surprised to see that he has worked himself into this position where he's getting a second fight with Manny Pacquiao. And this fight, because of what happened in the first fight, is going to be much bigger.
And if he wants to take the next step and become the great Mexican hero that he believes that he deserves to be, he's got to be a warrior.
He knows that this is his time, this is his period, and it's finally here.
You wanted to be embraced, you wanted to be loved, you're now being embraced, you're now being loved. You better perform or we'll never forgive you for this. That's what the Mexican people are saying to Juan Manuel Marquez.
For me, it would be a great triumph. All the effort we had put during the 14 years of my professional career will come together with a victory over Pacquiao.
On the other side of the globe, the Pac-Man's popularity swelled as he became the favorite son of his nation.
Manny Pacquiao rose to the occasion from that fight on.
Pacquiao became a great fighter, a great name, became basically a superstar in his country, but also an international icon.
Before the Manny Pacquiao generation, a few people knows boxing, not all. But right now, I think 99% they're watching every time I fight.
The whole country is in love with Manny Pacquiao, and since I'm his trainer, it falls over to me. The only time I don't get a crowd around me is when Manny's with me, so then they go to him.
One of the questions about Pacquiao has been whether the tremendous distractions of his fame has affected him as a fighter.
I love playing basketball, movie, TV show in the Philippines, music, yeah, singing. It's very difficult for me to manage. That's why I'm studying business management. So
everything he does in the ring, he has the weight of the Filipino people on his shoulders.
Now, for some, they might fold under that kind of pressure. But personally, I think Manny Pacquiao is a guy with a lot of courage and a lot of heart, and I think he thrives in that kind of an environment.
I have to win this fight because I don't want to make my fans disappointed in the fight.
The fact that he came to Los Angeles 9 weeks before the fight suggests that he knows that this is a serious fight.
Now it's all boxing. You're going to see the best Manny Pacquiao ever.
And down he goes. Fire against fire. Marquez coming back. Stuns Pacquiao. We have a majority draw. What a battle.
Now the rematch. Marquez carries the weight of a nation.
Hard right hand by Marquez.
Pacquiao has taken down the last two Mexican stars.
Pacquiao is a storm.
Who will be the last man standing?
Two real fighters.
Marquez Pacquiao 2, Saturday, March 15th, live on pay-per-view. Contact your pay-per-view provider to order.
As Marquez watched from the sidelines, Manny Pacquiao blazed through Mexico's finest fighters, including Marco Antonio Barrera and Eric Morales.
He beat Morales, no issue anymore. He's beaten Barrera twice, no issue anymore.
It's very unforgettable fight that I had before with Barrera and Morales. We show it to the people that we can give a good fight.
For him to beat Marquez would be the final blow.
Manny Pacquiao would finally be able to say, I have met all the Mexicans, and they are mine.
Manny Pacquiao continues his ongoing conquest of Mexico.
I wish I can fight not a Mexican fighter someday.
Because of Manny's success against the Mexican legends, Juan Manuel Marquez is standing up to say, enough, it's over, it stops here.
For Juan Manuel Marquez, it's for pride. I'm going to stand up for Mexico, and I'm going to show the world what Mexican fighters are all about.
I don't know why many people think this Manny Pacquiao is a Mexican killer. I don't think so. I don't think so. He couldn't beat me. He couldn't beat me. And on March 15, I will demonstrate who's better.
Juan Manuel Marquez is probably a much better fighter now than he was the first time he faced Manny Pacquiao.
I like to be a technical boxer, but also the aggressive boxer, because I think that's what the fans really like.
Another big uppercut from Marquez. Snaps Barrera's head back.
He's training differently right now because his opponent is a dangerous fighter. Manny Pacquiao is a very strong fighter, a fighter that has recently learned how to box, how to move. He has a very difficult style.
Pacquiao lands his jab again.
He used to be a great one-punch, left-handed knockout puncher.
Talk about going into the jaws of the lion.
And he started listening more. He started picking up more from Freddie Roach.
I knew this fight was going to happen someday, so I've been working on his right hook and making him a two-fisted fighter.
Hard right hand, Don Morales.
It's a new weapon that he's used better and better for each fight.
He'll take a punch, but he'll throw 3 or 4. He's a very busy fighter, and he's relentless.
He's really come a long way since that first fight, and I think that's going to be the difference in this fight.
On March 15th, Juan Manuel Marquez and Manny Pacquiao will take care of unfinished business.
It's a classic matchup between a truly skilled, superior boxer in Juan Manuel Marquez and an ultimate savage destroyer in Manny Pacquiao.
They've already tasted each other's power, each other's skill. Now this is for everything.
They're going to start slugging each other, see who has the stronger power, the stronger will. And I think the second fight's going to be just as tenacious as the first fight.
People really want to see this fight because they know they're going to see a great show. Also, they all know that, right now, Manny Pacquiao and Juan Manuel Marquez are the best fighters in their division.
Manny Pacquiao wants to prove he's still the elite fighter. A lot of people consider him the pound-for-pound best fighter in boxing. He likes that status. He wants to maintain that.
It's like a bull and a matador.
Juan Manuel Marquez has always been a hungry fighter. He's always wanted recognition. He's always wanted stardom. He's finally gotten a taste of that, and he wants to not only keep it, but enhance it.
I want this fight in a long time since the fight is draw. I'm excited to face him on March 15.
It's not a rematch, it's a fight to erase a draw and to finally show who won in 2004.
It's going to be one of those classics. It's going to be one of those rare instances where the second fight is better than the first fight.
This is one of the fights that you say, yeah, I want to see round 13.
Coming back, stuns Pacquiao. We have a majority draw. What a battle.
Now the rematch. Marquez carries the weight of a nation.
Hard right hand by Marquez.
Pacquiao has taken down the last 2 Mexican stars.
Pacquiao is a storm.
Who will be the last man standing?
2 real fighters.
Marquez Pacquiao 2, Saturday, March 15th, live on pay-per-view. Contact your pay-per-view provider to order.
This is an event.
Country against country, it's man against man.
Juan Manuel Marquez, Manny Pacquiao, they're gonna fight.
Since the draw, I want this fight. Here we go again.
We are preparing for a war.
If you let Pacquiao come at you, good night.
Mexican fighters love to engage.
Marquez scores against the ropes.
This is a fight that can explode in any moment.
2 real fighters from their guts.
I mean, this is an exciting fight.
They're going to bring their best.
Both can box, both can punch, both have the hearts of champions.
The Battle, Chapter 2.
And down he goes. Fire against fire. Marquez coming back, stuns Pacquiao. We have a majority draw. What a battle.
Now the rematch. Marquez carries the weight of a nation.
Hard right hand by Marquez.
Pacquiao has taken down the last 2 Mexican stars.
Pacquiao is a storm.
Who will be the last man standing?
2 real fighters.
Marquez Pacquiao 2, Saturday, March 15th, live on pay-per-view. Contact your pay-per-view provider to order.
On March 15th, super featherweight champion Juan Manuel Marquez will meet three-division world champion Manny Pacquiao in a long-awaited rematch of a legendary battle.
We had this enormous noise, the cheering by the Mexican crowd, the flags were everywhere. The Filipino crowd was the same thing, maybe even louder.
Right now, this is the most exciting fighter in boxing. He certainly has the most excited fan following.
Talk about.
Their first fight was one of the most fascinating fights of the last several years.
We knew it was going to be exciting. We didn't expect it to be so explosive.
Pacquiao has great talent. Marquez is no sparring partner.
Manny Pacquiao jumped on Marquez, who wasn't accustomed to people attacking with abandon. And when he hit him with this hurricane, Marquez didn't know what to do.
Marquez down, great left, gets up, and his legs are strangers to him.
Manuel Marquez, being the enthusiastic warrior that he is, he kept coming forward.
I think that second knockdown was the most brutal, and he just didn't look like he was going to get up.
He kept getting hit with the same punch, hard left hand.
He was down, and then down again, and then down again.
Third knockdown of the first round.
And pretty much everybody on press row is just kind of looking at each other like, well, you know, this fight's over.
Manny Pacquiao is a storm. Juan Manuel Marquez hasn't ever seen anything like that.
I just couldn't throw away in less than 3 minutes everything that I worked so hard for.
You can't afford to lose any rounds, because if you lose one, you're going to lose the fight.
The fight is over, I thought. But I'm surprised that, you know, his staff and he recover and, you know, he fight back.
More and more, Pacquiao's missing with the left, while Marquez is landing with the counter right. Hard right hand stuns Pacquiao.
He had so much success early with the left hand, he kept just using it over and over again. Marquez is too smart a fighter to beat with one hand.
Manny, do not let him back you up and take control of the fight, you hear me? You be the boss out there, son, okay?
Marquez is unbelievably carrying the action.
Marquez may be within range of coming back to win the fight.
There's really no explanation for it. It's just a guy who refuses to lose.
Fire against fire, down the stretch. Pacquiao's left, Marquez's right. What a battle.
To his credit, he fought back to a draw.
We have a majority draw.
The fight, I thought I've clearly won. They ended up calling it a draw. And even though I've kept the 2 championships I was defending, I felt a little frustrated because we'd done all that was necessary to win.
I'm surprised in that decision, but you know, it already happened. What are we gonna do?
This is one of the great comebacks, not just in boxing, in sports.
It was 2 fights in one. One lasted 1 round, and the other one lasted 11 rounds.
Before every good match, my first hope is that it is so good that we want to see it again. And that was so good that finally we're going to see it again.
And down he goes. Fire against fire. Marquez coming back. Stuns Pacquiao. We have a majority draw. What a battle.
Now the rematch. Marquez carries the weight of a nation.
Hard right hand by Marquez.
Pacquiao has taken down the last 2 Mexican stars.
Pacquiao is a storm.
Who will be the last man standing?
2 real fighters.
Marquez Pacquiao 2, Saturday, March 15th, live on pay-per-view. Contact your pay-per-view provider to order.
Despite his amazing comeback, Marquez's climb to world champion took quite a different path than that of his Filipino foe.
Juan Manuel Marquez has been in the shadow of Erik Morales and Marco Antonio Barrera.
he was never as strongly embraced by the Mexican fan base as those two. He was always that third guy.
They didn't fight him back in their primes and so forth because he was a great counterpuncher, and it was just a style that would make them look bad even if they won the fight.
Marquez lands a big left hook.
Eric Morales didn't want to fight him. Barrera finally fought him, and Marquez beat him.
Uppercut for Marquez. Left hook. Barrera stunned.
As you have seen in the Barrera fight, he knows how to capture these moments.
He's showing that he certainly belonged in the discussion. Right there with Barrera and Morales and Pacquiao. No question about it.
Sometimes when you are the best in a particular weight class, you're being avoided.
Here's a guy who is not easily deterred. And I'm not surprised to see that he has worked himself into this position where he's getting a second fight with Manny Pacquiao. And this fight, because of what happened in the first fight, is going to be much bigger.
And if he wants to take the next step and become the great Mexican hero that he believes that he deserves to be, he's got to be a warrior.
He knows that this is his time, this is his period, and it's finally here.
You wanted to be embraced, you wanted to be loved, you're now being embraced, you're now being loved. You better perform or we'll never forgive you for this. That's what the Mexican people are saying to Juan Manuel Marquez.
For me, it would be a great triumph. All the effort we had put during the 14 years of my professional career will come together with a victory over Pacquiao.
On the other side of the globe, the Pac-Man's popularity swelled as he became the favorite son of his nation.
Manny Pacquiao rose to the occasion from that fight on.
Pacquiao became a great fighter, a great name, became basically a superstar in his country, but also an international icon.
Before the Manny Pacquiao generation, a few people knows boxing, not all. But right now, I think 99% they're watching every time I fight.
The whole country is in love with Manny Pacquiao, and since I'm his trainer, it falls over to me. The only time I don't get a crowd around me is when Manny's with me, so then they go to him.
One of the questions about Pacquiao has been whether the tremendous distractions of his fame has affected him as a fighter.
I love playing basketball, movie, TV show in the Philippines, music, yeah, singing. It's very difficult for me to manage. That's why I'm studying business management. So
everything he does in the ring, he has the weight of the Filipino people on his shoulders.
Now, for some, they might fold under that kind of pressure. But personally, I think Manny Pacquiao is a guy with a lot of courage and a lot of heart, and I think he thrives in that kind of an environment.
I have to win this fight because I don't want to make my fans disappointed in the fight.
The fact that he came to Los Angeles 9 weeks before the fight suggests that he knows that this is a serious fight.
Now it's all boxing. You're going to see the best Manny Pacquiao ever.
And down he goes. Fire against fire. Marquez coming back. Stuns Pacquiao. We have a majority draw. What a battle.
Now the rematch. Marquez carries the weight of a nation.
Hard right hand by Marquez.
Pacquiao has taken down the last two Mexican stars.
Pacquiao is a storm.
Who will be the last man standing?
Two real fighters.
Marquez Pacquiao 2, Saturday, March 15th, live on pay-per-view. Contact your pay-per-view provider to order.
As Marquez watched from the sidelines, Manny Pacquiao blazed through Mexico's finest fighters, including Marco Antonio Barrera and Eric Morales.
He beat Morales, no issue anymore. He's beaten Barrera twice, no issue anymore.
It's very unforgettable fight that I had before with Barrera and Morales. We show it to the people that we can give a good fight.
For him to beat Marquez would be the final blow.
Manny Pacquiao would finally be able to say, I have met all the Mexicans, and they are mine.
Manny Pacquiao continues his ongoing conquest of Mexico.
I wish I can fight not a Mexican fighter someday.
Because of Manny's success against the Mexican legends, Juan Manuel Marquez is standing up to say, enough, it's over, it stops here.
For Juan Manuel Marquez, it's for pride. I'm going to stand up for Mexico, and I'm going to show the world what Mexican fighters are all about.
I don't know why many people think this Manny Pacquiao is a Mexican killer. I don't think so. I don't think so. He couldn't beat me. He couldn't beat me, and on March 15, I will demonstrate who's better.
Juan Manuel Marquez is probably a much better fighter now than he was the first time he faced Manny Pacquiao.
I like to be a technical boxer, but also the aggressive boxer, because I think that's what the fans really like.
Another big uppercut for Marquez. Snaps Barrera's head back.
He's training differently right now because his opponent is a dangerous fighter. Manny Pacquiao is a very strong fighter, a fighter that has recently learned how to box, how to move. He has a very difficult style.
Pacquiao lands his jab again.
He used to be a great one-punch, left-handed knockout puncher.
Talk about going into the jaws of the lion.
And he started listening more. He started picking up more from Freddie Roach.
I knew this fight was going to happen someday, so I've been working on his right hook and making him a two-fisted fighter.
Hard right hand, Scott Morales.
It's a new weapon that he's used better and better for each fight.
He'll take a punch, but he'll throw 3 or 4. He's a very busy fighter, and he's relentless.
He's really come a long way since that first fight, and I think that's going to be the difference in this fight.
On March 15th, Juan Manuel Marquez and Manny Pacquiao will take care of unfinished business.
It's a classic matchup between a truly skilled, superior boxer in Juan Manuel Marquez and an ultimate savage destroyer in Manny Pacquiao.
They've already tasted each other's power, each other's skill. Now this is for everything.
They're going to start slugging each other, see who has the stronger power, the stronger will. And I think the second fight's going to be just as tenacious as the first fight.
People really want to see this fight because they know they're going to see a great show. Also, they all know that right now, Manny Pacquiao and Juan Manuel Marquez are the best fighters in their division.
Manny Pacquiao wants to prove he's still the elite fighter. A lot of people consider him the pound-for-pound best fighter in boxing. He likes that status. He wants to maintain that.
It's like a bull and a matador.
Juan Manuel Marquez has always been a hungry fighter. He's always wanted recognition. He's always wanted stardom. He's finally gotten a taste of that, and he wants to not only keep it, but enhance it.
I want this fight in a long time since the fight is draw. I'm excited to face him on March 15.
It's not a rematch, it's a fight to erase a draw and to finally show who won in 2004.
It's going to be one of those classics. It's going to be one of those rare instances where the second fight is better than the first fight.
This is one of the fights that you say, yeah, I want to see round 13.
We have a majority draw. What a battle.
Now the rematch. Marquez carries the weight of a nation.
Hard right hand by Marquez.
Pacquiao has taken down the last 2 Mexican stars.
Pacquiao is a storm.
Who will be the last man standing?
2 real fighters.
Marquez Pacquiao 2, Saturday, March 15th, live on pay-per-view. Contact your pay-per-view provider to order.
the Mandalay Bay Event Center in Las Vegas, Nevada, for one of the most highly anticipated rematches available in the sport of boxing. Juan Manuel Marquez, now the 130-pound champ, takes on superstar Manny Pacquiao. These two men fought to a much-talked-about draw 4 years ago at the featherweight limit of 126 pounds. But before our main event, a three-fight undercard beginning with lightweight title holder David Diaz, fighting for the first time since sending Erik Morales into apparent retirement. Tonight, Diaz takes on Ramon Montano in a non-title fight. Then, undefeated Mexican prospect Abner Mares faces Filipino Diosdado Gabi. And just before our main event, featherweight title holder Stephen Luevano takes on Thailand's aggressive Terdzak Jandang. Marquez versus Pacquiao is being brought to you by Mandalay Bay, boxing at its best. Tecate beer, cerveza with an attitude. Rockstar energy drink, party like a rock star. Southwest Airlines, symbol of freedom. And by HBO Pay-Per-View, the best in pay-per-view entertainment, brought to you by HBO. A beautiful night in Las Vegas. Hello again, everybody. I'm Jim Lampley. Welcome to this terrific pay-per-view matchup on HBO Boxing, a fight we've looked forward to for a long time because it continues the string of great matchups in the sport, which began last May, continued all the way through the end of 2007, and now persists tonight with a matchup between what Ring Magazine ranks as the #2 and #3 pound-for-pound fighters in the sport, meeting for the ring's vacant belt at 130 pounds. And incidentally, the great matchups continue a month from now when Ring Magazine's #4 and 5 ranked fighters, pound for pound in the sport, Joe Calzaghe and Bernard Hopkins, will be going against each other. In the main event tonight between Pacquiao and Marquez, we hope to answer the riddle left behind by their first fight, when one judge scored the fight by a healthy margin for Pacquiao. Another judge scored it by a healthy margin for Marquez. And the third judge had an even scorecard, and there was an intelligent argument to be made on behalf of all three of those diverse scores. So what a main event it could be. It begins with an undercard showcase for a fighter who is expected perhaps to be a Pacquiao opponent later on this year, if in fact he can get through this matchup tonight, and that is 135-pound belt holder David Diaz. So let's take a look at the tail of the tape now for Diaz fighting over the weight limit tonight against Montano. You can see the 6-year age advantage for Montano. He's a light puncher with only one knockout on his record. Diaz with 3 inches of height deficit against Montano, an arm length advantage of a ½ inch for Montano. They both weighed in at 136 pounds, over the 135-pound limit at which Diaz holds his belt. Tonight in this non-title fight, he's rehydrated all the way up to 149 pounds overnight for a 4-pound functional weight advantage, unofficially going into the ring against his opponent. Harold Letterman with the rules of the bout.
The David Diaz-Ramon Montano fight is scheduled for 10 rounds using the unified rules of the Association of Boxing Commissions. There is no 3-knockdown rule. Only the referee can stop the fight. In case it is caused by an accidental headbutt, we go to the scorecards if the 4 rounds have been completed, and you cannot be saved by the bell at any round, including the 10th and final round. Jim.
David Diaz, as we mentioned, a potential future opponent for Manny Pacquiao, with Pacquiao to win later on tonight. Let's go to ring announcer Michael Buffer for the official introductions.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the Mandalay Bay of Las Vegas, Nevada, USA, where tonight Oscar de la Hoya's Golden Boy Promotions and Bob Arum's Top Rank Incorporated are proud to present an evening of world-class professional boxing on HBO Pay-Per-View. Sponsored by Tecate Cerveza with Attitude, Rockstar Energy Drink, party like a rock star. Southwest Airlines, the symbol of freedom, and Smart Communications. All bouts tonight sanctioned by the Nevada State Athletic Commission, Chairman John Bailey, Executive Director Keith Kaiser, Commissioners Skip Avancino Jr., Bill Brady, T.J. Day, and Pat Lunville. Physicians at ringside, Doctors Jeff Davidson, William Berliner, James Detling, and David Watson. Counting for the knockdowns and timekeepers at the bell, Steve Esposito and Mike Lachella. This first bout is presented by Top Rank in association with Golden Boy, MP Promotions, and Romanza Boxing Productions. At ringside, the 3 judges scoring this contest will be Robert Hoyle, Dave Moretti, and Glenn Trowbridge. And inside the ring, your referee in charge of the action, Joe Fair But Firm Cortez. And now this is a non-title bout, 10 rounds of boxing in the lightweight division. Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing red, white, and green, official weight, 136 pounds, professional record, 15 victories, including 1 KO to his credit, 4 defeats, 2 bouts even. Originally from Ciudad Obregón, Mexico, now training and fighting out of Las Vegas, Nevada, Ramon El Halcón Montaño. And fighting out of the red corner, wearing black, trimmed with white, official weight 136 pounds. His professional record, 33 victories, including 17 knockouts, only 1 defeat, 1 bout even, from the Windy City, Chicago, Illinois. Title not on the line tonight, the WBC Lightweight World Champion, Dangerous David Diaz.
All right, gentlemen, we went over the rules in the dressing room. Ya vi las reglas en el camerino. I expect a good, clean fight. Una pelea limpia. Obey my commands at all times. Remember, guys, I'm fair, but I'm firm. Touch him up.
Although his title is not on the line, it would be a good idea for Diaz to win tonight if he wants to get that fight with Pacquiao. Assuming Pacquiao wins later tonight, there is a rematch clause between Pacquiao and Marquez should Marquez win.
The Chicago-based Diaz, in the eyes of followers of his professional career, got his biggest victory last August against a faded Eric Morales. But truly the biggest wins of his career probably came back at the amateur level, at the Olympic box office in 1996, when he twice beat Zab Judah to make the Olympic team for Atlanta ahead of the much more talented Judah.
And that's a major accomplishment because Zab Judah was a brilliant amateur fighter. As a matter of fact, going into the final rounds of the elimination, I think Zab Judah and Fernando Vargas and Floyd Mayweather were really the standout fighters. And there was somewhat of an upset when Judah lost to Diaz.
But Diaz is a gutty guy who never says die. In August of 2006, he lost virtually every minute of every round to Jose Armando Santa Cruz before knocking him out with a big shot in the 10th round to gather, at least for that time, the belt that he now holds. He had to solidify it against Morales last year to keep it.
He's a tough fighter, kind of reminds you of the old fighters in the 50s and 60s. Nothing fancy about him, basic, simple, basic punches. And he throws his left hand and comes back with his right hand, just as way the same delivery that he shoots with his left hand. More like a right cross jab. There it is right there.
If you listen to Michael Buffer giving Ramon Montaño's record, you may have caught the key fact in determining why he's here as Diaz's opponent tonight. 1 knockout in his 21 previous professional fights. In other words, no real power. Handsome guy. Montaño has sparred a lot with some big-name fighters in the sport. Rocky Juarez, Juan Diaz, Lovemore Indo, and he was a Floyd Mayweather sparring partner for Mayweather's matchup with Ricky Hatton back in December.
Well, living here in Las Vegas, he's going to get a lot of opportunities to spar with a lot of the top fighters as they come through here.
Saca los brazos, saca los brazos, saca los brazos.
And in round 1, he's quicker than Diaz and is beating Diaz to the punch. That time Diaz backs him off with a right hook.
Diaz may be being beat in the punch, but he's not being hit. He's picking most of those punches off with his gloves and elbows. Very deceiving fighter. Just very good defense. He places his punches very well and economically.
getting down too low. That's what I told you not to do. Don't get down too low. Stay up tall, okay? Ignore your jab, okay? The jab is the key. Move to your left and stay tall. Don't get down too low. All right? ¿Viste cómo trabaja la derecha y el gancho?
See how he's working the right on the hook?
When you get into a clinch, as soon as you break, you got to get off first.
Okay, but you got to come back with something. And stop walking straight in. Go down the jab and bob and weave. Come on.
I got
Couple deep breaths. Fight. A little slower. Don't try to knock everybody out with a punch, all right? Once you're inside, you got to get your head in the shift and throw punches in.
Wasn't that long ago that all the lightweight belts were owned by 3 Diazes. Now he's the only Diaz with a lightweight belt.
And he was probably the least popular of all of them and the least known.
Well, it's more or less an open secret in the sport, given that Diaz is promoted by the same promoter as Pacquiao, given that the promoter's plan is for Pacquiao, if he wins tonight, to move to 135 pounds, that he is holding the belt for Pacquiao in effect, because if the fight takes place, and regardless of what Diaz does here, Manny Pacquiao would be an extremely heavy favorite to beat him. But then he's won fights in which he was a heavy underdog before. Good body shot by Montano. You heard Diaz's corner telling him that he was getting too low. And still, he has difficulty resisting the urge to crouch down against the taller Montano.
Yeah, say he fights like an old-time fighter.
Elaborate.
The black trunks is reflective of the era when they fought with only black and white trunks on. they did with the black shoes, so he looks just like as it run back about 50 years.
You mean before television?
Before television. And then when it was television, it was black and white television, so that's why the trunks had to be black or white.
So Jake LaMotta would approve?
Yes.
Little right hook inside for Diaz. And you see Montano with wide swinging left-hand punches there.
For a fellow that only has 1 knockout, Montano does fight in an aggressive style.
Yeah, he's a much better fighter than I expected.
He singes Diaz with that winging left hook. And comes back with busy action when Diaz lands on his own.
Montoya doesn't fight with the attitude of a lot of guys who are sparring partners, being that he's sparred with most of the top fighters, but he doesn't fight that way. He's fighting as if he come here to win the fight, not just to survive and get a paycheck at the end of the week.
Hey, ideal for a sparring partner. Willing, aggressive, eager to throw, no power. That helps.
But he's not a sparring partner right here tonight, guys.
And he's fighting. Hoping to upset Diaz's apple cart. Hoping to catch Diaz looking ahead to the big money matchup with Pacquiao.
Even though they're going toe-to-toe, most of the real clean, accurate punches are coming from Diaz. His punches are a lot more short and accurate and to the point.
You're making this harder for yourself. Making it harder, okay? Listen, you gotta work on the inside, go up with 2 hands, man. Don't just rely on that right uppercut. You go right here, you go here, then you come back up the top, okay? You keep throwing. And don't wait and rest your head in like that.
Soon you are inside, soon the shoulder they come up punching like we see in the dressing room.
Listen, as soon as you're... Okay. Go ahead. You're doing fine.
Te quedas quieto, muy tieso adentro, no tira los golpes.
To keep from having to follow him, you can't counter as much. You got to get off first. Okay. And once you're inside, lay on him and push him back. Okay. Even if they're light punches, just big like that. Understand? Mm-hmm. Not trying.
Jimmy Strickland is in Diaz's corner as the trainer. He's also a very good cut man. Juan Diaz could have used him in Cancun, Mexico last week. What's Jimmy's background as a trainer, Emmanuel?
Well, Jimmy's background primarily was as a cut man. He was a pharmacist, much like Earl Letterman, so he knows all about good cut coagulants for cuts. And if I'm correct, I think in this case he is the manager, I think, of Diaz. So he actually is filling 3 roles, really, as a trainer, cut man, and manager. So Diaz is very special to him, in other words.
A hyphenate in boxing.
And obviously, if you start out as a cut man and eventually gravitate toward trainer and manager, you've been in the gym a lot. You're one of those guys. And by the way, he has as one of his assistants here tonight, Sam Colonna, who's about the most experienced Chicago trainer on the scene today. So it's a smart corner.
It's a very good Chicago. As a matter of fact, that's probably one of the reasons Diaz hasn't gotten a lot of recognition and connection with the Mexican crowd, because he's from Chicago instead of being from Texas, Mexico, or California, like most of the Mexican fighters are.
Now there you see a perfect example of Diaz's defense. Montano throwing about 9 straight punches, and none of them landed because Diaz was behind the peekaboo guard, slipped 1 punch, and now waiting his turn, steps in and lands an uppercut. He threw 178 punches in the second round, and the activity level isn't dropping here in round 3.
Come on, no wrestling. Hold, time. Con la cabeza adentro, okay? Let's go, all right? Let's go.
Larry mentioned the sudden Diaz convergence that took place in the 135-pound weight class last year. Since that moment, when the 3 belts belonged to 3 Diazes, Juan Diaz beat Julio Diaz, and then last week, Nate Campbell scored a huge upset over Juan Diaz to claim a belt at age 36.
There you saw Diaz land what I call his favorite punches, to throw a left hand and come back with a right jab that's loaded up with the power of a right cross. That's his most dangerous punch that he's shown tonight. Plus, he works very good on the inside with short punches.
Beginning to put a little bit more of his own imprint on the fight now as we come down the stretch on round 3. David Diaz in the black trunks. Good short left up the middle by Diaz.
A lot of the punches of Montano are being blocked, but from one side of the ring, you may not see them being blocked. And then that side, the judge may see the fight differently from another side.
Did I see you in a judge's chair about an hour before fight time tonight, Larry? Sitting over there, creating a momentary nightmare for every promoter in the sport?
You don't come forward, you can't win the round.
Well, and if you don't come forward with that card that says number 4, then a lot of people have no idea what round it is they're getting ready to watch. So this is a vital public service performed by a young lady who is properly dressed for the role. And that's why we show this to you. Just another one of the important safety elements of boxing. It's a safety mechanism.
Throwing is what you can do, and then you just stop, okay? You gotta keep throwing.
You say that, Steven. You show you can do, and then you stop.
Come on, let's go.
Con la cabeza adentro.
CompuBox numbers on power punches through round 3. Diaz 52 out of 166. Montano 50 out of 180. Harold, how do you have it scored through 3?
Close fight, Jim. 29-28. 2 rounds to 1, David Diaz. Jim, in round 1, I thought Raymond Montano clearly outpunched him. But in rounds 2 and 3, Diaz started to get into some sort of rhythm, got inside. Raymond Montano is really fighting his fight, you know, toe-to-toe. The little guy's got to get inside the score. And Diaz just landing the hardest shots. He's the bigger puncher, landing that left uppercut and that right uppercut, as you saw just there. 2-1, Diaz.
Not having been at the Olympic trials in 1996, Emmanuel, trying to envision how David Diaz, with his skill set, could have beaten the extremely slick and quick Zab Judah.
Yeah, it's very hard to see. But, you know, Zab is, the only thing with Zab has always been an inconsistent type fighter. He can look brilliant in certain spots, and then he slackens off, and he admitted himself. Some fights he'll be winning, and he'll just slack and just stop punching. But, you know, his inconsistency, I could see, could cause him to lose to a fight like to Diaz, who's very consistent all the way through and very accurate.
Of course, Judah will be looking to have one of his good nights when he fights Shane Mosley in a couple of months, and a fight that will help to sort out the crowded welterweight division. Determine if either or both of those fighters are still factors in that competitive scene.
When Zab Judah wants to really fight and settle down in the series, he is a very, very talented fighter. That's where one of the things I think, even though he loses a lot of the big fights, I think still he shows the fans that he can fight, and enough where people will bring him back because he's a lot of talent.
As he did in the first 6 or 7 rounds against Miguel Cotto in Madison Square Garden.
Floyd Mayweather even early in the fight also too.
Yeah, well, unfortunately he doesn't follow through in the late rounds, and that takes talent as well.
And that's something David Diaz has done in his professional boxing career. Part of the reason for the 33 win, 1 loss, 1 draw record. Good right hook. Flush on the chin of Montano.
It's a little odd that a guy with a lightweight title is here fighting in the first fight of our card tonight.
Yes, setting the stage for Abner Maris. Diaz reaching with an uppercut from far out, and was momentarily walking forward in a conventional stance before resetting his feet into the southpaw posture. Just a little bit earlier, the pride of the Philippines, Manny Pacquiao, arrived here for what will be his 10th fight in his last 11 outings against a Mexican opponent. Look at how clean that face is. Look at the absence of any swelling or puffiness or lines whatsoever. Emmanuel, he appears to be in sensational shape.
He's in sensational shape, and mentally and spiritually, he seems to be very, very, very happy coming into this fight.
This time around, according to all in his camp, no distractions. He came to Los Angeles to train at Freddie Roach's gym in Hollywood 8 full weeks before the fight. This is in contrast to 2 occasions last year when Roach wasn't entirely happy with Pacquiao's training scene or with the enormous distractions that accompany his life in the Philippines. This time around, Manny Pacquiao, they say, is as focused can be. Not that the absence of focus has resulted in any losses. He's on a winning streak.
Well, he's had his entire trilogy with Morales since the first fight with Marquez.
And the fight with Marco Antonio Barrera. More on that as the evening goes on. The saga of Manny versus the Mexicans, or Manny versus all of Mexico.
Well, they used to call Roger Mayweather the Mexican killer. He won, I don't know, dozens of fights in a row against Mexican opponents. And then Julio Cesar Chavez beat him down.
Roger Mayweather, when he was called the Mexican Assassin, used to come to the ring in Los Angeles wearing a sombrero, an act which his nephew, Floyd Mayweather, imitated when he wore the sombrero into the ring against Oscar De La Hoya last year.
They used to call him the Black Mamba, Mexican Assassin. And I guess everything fell apart when he fought Chavez. Chavez made up for all of the losses that the Mexican fighters had lost to him.
Prompting Roger to quit on his stool at the end of round 11 in the cauldron of the Los Angeles Forum. It was about 100 degrees inside that day, and the crowd went berserk. It was a great show.
Right. Diaz seems to be imposing his strength gradually on Montano.
Punch-stat numbers through the 4th round were very even, though. Diaz 86 out of 255 and Montano 78 out of 324. But there are 2 clean shots by Diaz and a perfect right-hand uppercut. These are solid landed punches, which underline the fact that Diaz, as I said a couple of rounds ago, is beginning to put more and more of his own imprint on the fight. Now Montano lands an uppercut, not nearly with the same effect.
Montano's fighting a very good fight, especially in view of the fact he's not a puncher. You would think he would get off and try to box and try to win a decision, which he probably has a better of a chance of doing that, because I don't know how good Diaz is with his legs, but Montano is sitting there trying to fight him punch for punch, and he doesn't have that kind of power or the accuracy or the strength, I don't think, physically, to have Diaz doing it this way.
Emmanuel, they weren't going to put Diaz in with a pure boxer.
I don't understand why you're waiting so long, Ramon. Okay? These rounds are close, mate, but he might be edging him because he's just out punching you right now. Because you're letting him. You're just waiting too long. Richie, put it on. Okay, mate? Listen, dig the right here, come back with a hook up top, okay? Left hook to the head, straight right hand. Okay? You got to put more than one shot down, Ramon. 2 and 3 at a time, and keep working and stay there. Okay? You got to want this.
Okay, follow me. Okay, let this punch. Put it right there.
But you don't want to be as fast when you're way out here. But once you're in here, you can square up.
Okay.
And then both hands up the middle.
All right. Some water? No.
Here you can see Diaz landing what I think has been his best punch of the night, is that right hand that he shoots coming over. It comes almost like a right cross. And he shoots basic, simple punches, and that's what's been effective for him tonight.
CompuBox numbers in the 5th round: Diaz 27 out of 81, Montano 18 out of 90, 20 out of 20, or 26 out of Diaz's 27 connected punches, power shots. First of 4 fights on tonight's card. Next up, outstanding young prospect in the bantamweight division, Abner Mares, against Filipino Diosdado Gabi. And one more fight after that before Pacquiao and Marquez. Well, Jimmy Strickland was counseling Diaz between rounds on how to get closer and throw that uppercut. And now Diaz is getting in there and breathing on Montano and throwing the uppercut from that range, which is the right way to do it. Chopping right hands over the top, uppercuts with the left.
There is no place for cowards on the ropes there, the way they're banging each other.
If there's a place for a coward anywhere inside a prize fight ring, I don't think I've seen it yet.
Well, it's all relative, of course. But the way these two young guys are going at each other, it's a higher level of whatever it takes to be in there.
6 rounds in the book. Fight is scheduled for 10. Non-title fight for the title-holding David Diaz.
All right? So don't be measuring for the big punch. All you want to do is make contact. Keep hitting and scoring the points, okay?
Head around, buddy, but you gotta punch more. All right.
All right.
Can't follow him without punching, okay?
Give me that Vaseline.
Uppercut, left uppercut, okay? Don't just rely on the right hand. You got to throw with both hands, Ramon, and throw consistently, okay? We're behind, okay? You got to pick it up. Come on. Come on, Ramon.
Here you can see how effective Diaz is when he's in close with little short punches that you really have to see on a replay to really appreciate him. Here the uppercut's coming again, and I think right after that, if I remember, he got hit with a punch himself. But for the most part, in close, Diaz is a much more accurate and physically stronger fighter.
Boy, your memory's frighteningly good, Emmanuel. CompuBox numbers in 6. Diaz 24 out of 65. Montano 19 out of 92. He's still throwing in bunches. Harold, how do you have it?
Okay, Jim, 59, 55, 5 rounds to 1, David Diaz. Jim, you know, David Diaz has to get inside the score. And unfortunately, Ramon Montano wants to fight head-to-head, toe-to-toe with the guy. So Montano stays in Diaz's punching range. Diaz is too strong, landing the harder, cleaner shots. He's winning each round just by, you know, by the fact that he's stronger and he's landing harder shots. Montano, as you said time and time again, doesn't have much power. 5-1, Diaz.
Comments are right on point. You can see that Diaz is perfectly willing to take some inside shots from Montano in the chance, or in return for the chance to land his own much harder punches.
Bleeding on the ear.
There's blood somewhere, and I can't tell whether it's outside the eye or in the hairline somewhere. I've been searching for that answer myself, Larry.
Even though Diaz is winning this fight, it's physically a very rough fight. You know, they put him in with a guy who couldn't punch, but they should have also considered finding a guy who couldn't take as good a punch as Montano takes. So even though he's winning, it's taking a lot out of him.
I don't think he'd be any kind of a walkover for Pacquiao because he's very strong.
I agree with you, Larry. Very tough, durable guy.
They trade shots down the stretch of that round. Crowd is being entertained by this. And once again, we bring you back to the vital safety mechanism of the round card girl. Now you may be asking, why is this a safety mechanism? And the answer, of course, is there's safety in numbers. And she's holding a number, which is 8. This is, if I'm correct, this is Ruth Quinn of Las Vegas. She is a former Palms girl. Emmanuel, have you been over to the Palms Hotel?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, red hot spot for young people like you.
She looked like she'd blend in right with the crowd at the Palms.
In fact, she has a twin sister. So there are 2 of her over at the Palms at those moments when she's working as a Palms girl. But, of course, the bio said former Palms girl. She may be moving on to bigger and better things. David Diaz with a connect advantage of 38-27 in that last round. The 38 connects were the high so far for Diaz. Basically, he's won every round since the first on Harold Lederman's scorecard. Quick right hook by David Diaz, one of his better punches of the night. I think the blood must have come from Diaz's right nostril, Larry. Haven't been able to find it elsewhere.
There's a lot of puffiness and swelling on the left eye of Montano, mainly from those short chopping right hands of Diaz, which he's been very effective with all night.
Yep.
You know, this is one of those fights when later you look at the record and beat some guy named Montano and looks like just another fight. Just, it was a gimme, some gimme. Hard night's work even when you win easily.
Now Montano wants to walk away after that last thudding right hand.
Diaz hasn't had much luck trying to back him up. Montano just keeps coming at him.
And even though Diaz has been hitting him with some clean, effective blows, he hasn't really ever seriously hurt him.
Tempo. 9 rounds in the book, 1 to go, just a short time ago. The second of the 2 main event combatants to make it to the arena, Juan Manuel Marquez. Between his 2 fights last year with Marco Antonio Barrera and Rocky Juarez, Marquez survived an automobile accident, but he got a big laceration on the right side of his forehead, and you can see the scar visible there as he walks in. Emmanuel Stewart, he says that it has never opened up in training or in the Juarez fight. But what if he happened to incur a headbutt right on that scar tissue? Isn't that a possible liability?
It's possible, but sometimes when you have, believe it or not, an injury like that, it's the toughest part of his head. Sometimes the way the tissues are healed inside is like a hard gristle right there. And maybe the last place that he would get a cut.
Well, and speaking of hard gristle, he has certainly hardened his offensive game in the 4 years since his first meeting with Manny Pacquiao, moving to a higher risk, more offensive style, landing more hard shots, and taking more as well. More on that as the evening goes on. Power punches through 8. Diaz with 196 landed power punches now to only 144 from Montano. Harold, how do you have it?
Okay, Jim. 7 rounds to 1. 79, 73. David Diaz. Jim, I just think that he's too strong on the inside. You know, I'd be amiss if I didn't say this. Raymond Montano once fought Dimitri Salita, a real good prospect from New York. They called it a draw, but Montano won. I mean, this is a tough kid. He's hanging in there. He's punching back. But Diaz is just too strong on the inside. Landed the cleaner, harder shots. 7-1, Diaz.
I have it 6-2. But whichever way the judges have it, it looks like it would take a stoppage for Montano to win the fight. Emmanuel, did Diaz fight in this way when he was an Olympian?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it was same, very strong, very accurate. And, you know, his style probably appealed to a lot of the judges who sometimes get turned off with the flashy styles of guys like Zab Judah, but very consistent. And he's what a judge's type fighter, because, you know, you have to look very closely to see his effectiveness. But his durability is a big factor, too. Always been a tough guy. And not the worst defense in the world, neither. Even though he looks slow, he's not that impressive with his movement. He's not that easy to hit with clean blows.
Hard left hand by Diaz. Biggest shot of the night. There's a right hand that follows it. Montano takes a backward step or two, as he did in the last round. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, Diaz inching toward that moment when he might be able to hurt Montano and compromise him. Jolts Montano's head back with a left uppercut.
Yeah, when Diaz lands, he really pushes all of his weight through with his punches, particularly the right hand punch. But even though he's been hitting it with full force, he still has not ever seriously had him in trouble yet, which is amazing. As you see right there, he punches and he pushes all of his body weight into the punches.
You think he can handle the straight left of Pacquiao?
That's what I was thinking, because he doesn't throw any straight left edge punches himself. Everything is a hook. Pacquiao's a powerful man.
Okay, last round, Ramon. Last round, Ramon. Last round, come on. Hey, grab this, Rich. You gotta let it all go, man. Let it all go, okay? Everything you got. Take a deep breath. Everything you got, Ramon. Listen, the right hand is landing. You gotta come back with
All right, wait a minute. Listen, what you gonna concentrate on? You're not trying to knock this guy out, all right? You just want to throw more punches than him. And to keep him from hitting you means your head's here and you're pushing him back on his heels, you understand?
Here we see a straight left coming in. Well, I guess more of a hook type left. Clean on the chin by Diaz, but still didn't have any really lasting effects at all on Montano.
And they touch gloves for the last round of the bout. Heard Jimmy Strickland's very specific instructions to David Diaz, who had a power connect advantage of 35-16 in the 9th round.
Suéltalo, Montano, suéltalo, Montano. Let him out.
It's only pride that keeps Montano upright at this point of the fight. Because he's been taking a lot of punishment over the last few rounds.
And as close as they're fighting, very seldom do you see a clinch. I don't recall Joe Cortez doing much at all in terms of having to break up clinches. They fight themselves out of clinches once they get in close.
Well, Montano, a very handsome guy, won't be quite as handsome for the next couple of weeks, because he is going to be bruised and swollen from the consistent tattoo of Diaz's power shots.
Especially the right hand of Diaz, which is landing in regularity continually on the left
Right
side
there.
of, yeah, that's the most powerful punch he has.
There again, knocks out Montano's mouthpiece. Now Joe Cortez bends and picks up the mouthpiece, and he'll wait to see if there's the so-called lull in the action. They'll also have to fix the tape on Montano's glove, which is streaming like a ribbon in there.
You see that Cortez wants to move
But this
in.
tells you there's never too much a lull in action in this fight between these guys. And one of the few
look at
clinches.
that. Cortez got the tape without stopping the action. That was brilliant. That's one of the best moves I've seen a referee make.
On the fly.
Fantastic. You got to be quick to do that. I'm not sure other referees should even try it.
But he's taking a big risk on him. If for whatever reason Montano ends up with his mouth cut real bad or losing his teeth, Joe could possibly be criticized
And
because
now
of the
he
mouthpiece.
steps in because of exactly that.
Yes.
And they did that exchange on the fly as well, Jim.
Crowd-pleasing referee effort.
I mean, they didn't miss a beat.
That's why some think, well, that's one of the reasons why some think Joe Cortez is the best. Or one of the best.
It was like passing a baton in a relay race.
One of the things you got to love about boxing, watch 1,000 fights, and 1,000 times you're going to see something that you haven't seen before. I have never seen a referee even try to do what Joe Cortez just did.
And make that fast exchange with the mouthpiece. He may have a future as a dentist.
Yeah, Joe was a very good boxer. He was a New York Golden Gloves champion.
All right, now there goes the mouthpiece, flying out as you saw there. At that moment, it flew over Diaz's left shoulder and landed on the canvas behind him. Boom. Flying mouthpiece, like a lob pass in a basketball game.
I'm surprised Cortez didn't catch it.
We'll have to get on him about that. I mean, really, if you're going to rip the tape on the fly and put in the mouthpiece on the fly, how could you miss that catch?
You remind me a little bit of Carmen.
Judges who are scoring here tonight. Robert Hoyle, 13 title fights. Had Hatton winning almost every round against Juan Urango. Dave Moretti, very experienced, 107 title fights. Havlik, 117-11 over Taylor in their second fight. Slightly wider than the other scores, 15-13 and 16-12, more the norm that night. Glenn Trowbridge, 12 title fights. Havlik over Taylor by 116-112. As I say, that was more the norm.
Montano seems to be a nice young man. I think he ought to find another line of work. He's very good at what he does, but he's just not in the elite class or ever likely to get there.
And when you don't have the punching power, we're only having one knockout out of about 20 fights. It means that it's going to be a long, painful career for him.
Well, and if you don't have punching power, the danger quotient goes up because you have less chance of keeping the opponent honest and keeping the opponent off you. Now watch this. Here we're going to show you Joe Cortez grabbing the tape off of Montano's glove and ripping it on the fly. That's what we were talking about, and it was brilliant.
And then for an encore.
All right, Michael Buffer's got the scores. Let's hear them.
Ladies and gentlemen, we go to the scorecards. Glenn Trowbridge scores the bout 95-95. He has it even. Dave Moretti, 99-91. Robert Hoyle, 97-93, all to the winner by majority decision. Dangerous David Diaz.
Well, he must have been on the side of the ring that didn't see those punches being blocked.
That's the point you made, Larry. All a matter of perspective.
I don't buy that. I don't care where you at. You had to see those clean punches, the way that Montano's head was flying back. For him to have it a draw, it's
questionable. Diaz landing 77 more, throwing 118 less, landing at a 15% higher clip. These numbers are sufficient to show you that David clearly won the fight, landing 88 more power punches, throwing 15 more and landing at a nearly 40% clip. David Diaz was efficient and effective, clearly won the fight. And the even score was what you call an anomaly. Las Vegas, 1 week after daylight saving time begins, now stays light till almost 7. Still to come, young Mexican Abner Maris faces Filipino southpaw Diosdado Gabi That'll be next. Featherweight champ Stephen Luevano takes on Turdsuk Jendang, who is from Thailand. And Luevano is looking down the road toward big things. And then our main event, the rematch, Juan Manuel Marquez versus Manny Pacquiao. Now let's take a look at our next HBO pay-per-view. Coming May 31, a make-or-break fight for two big-name fighters. Shane Mosley, coming off his 2 wins over Fernando Vargas and his narrow loss to Miguel Cotto, looks to reestablish his place in the welterweight division as he takes on former welterweight champ Zab Judah, who always seems to provide theatrics and entertainment and also looks to recreate his place in that crowded division. Mosley Judah on HBO pay-per-view May 31. March 22 Boxing After Dark brings you a matchup of top lightweights Joel Casamayor and Michael Katsidis. April 12, World Championship boxing doubleheader with 2 welterweight title fights. First, the rematch between Kermit Cintron and Antonio Margarito. Then Miguel Cotto takes on Alfonso Gomez. 1 week later, also live on HBO, Bernard Hopkins meets Joe Calzaghe at light heavyweight. And May 3, Oscar De La Hoya returns to HBO with a live fight against Steve Forbes from Los Angeles. For all that and more, log on to HBO.com. Juan Manuel Marquez in his locker room. In the first fight against Manny Pacquiao, he tasted the canvas 3 times in the first round. Then, via remarkable comeback, carved out round by round. A counter-punching exhibition par excellence. One judge saw him winning 10 of the remaining 11 rounds in the fight from Pacquiao. Is he still that good at age 34? Has his style evolved so far from what he was that night that we'll see an entirely different fight tonight? These questions remain to be answered as the evening goes on. And there is one of the most popular and perhaps the most exciting fighter in the world today, and a man who deeply appreciates and rampantly enjoys his celebrity, Manny Pacquiao. Enormously popular in the Pacific Rim, popular now in Mexico too, because of his ongoing war against that country's great fighters tonight in the person of Marquez. He meets a Mexican opponent for the 10th time in his last 11 fights, 7 in a row.
Probably the best fighter ever come to the U.S. out of Asia.
Next in the ring, Abner Mares, called by his trainer-manager Nacho Beristain the best young Mexican prospect in the sport, against a Filipino opponent, Diosdado Gabi, who is a friend and associate of Manny Pacquiao. 6-year age advantage for Mares. 3-inch height advantage as well. 1/2-inch arm length advantage measured from the armpit to the end of the fist. Weighed in a pound over the bantamweight limit. Tonight he's unofficially up to 123. Gabi weighed in 3.5 pounds over the bantamweight limit, and tonight is unofficially all the way up to 135. He blew up overnight, and when you see those numbers, you worry about the health of the fighter, because obviously he was severely dehydrated to be able to put on 15.5 pounds, functionally 12% of his body weight overnight. Rules of the bout with our unofficial ringside scorer, Harold Letterman.
The Abderberries Diosdado Gabi fight is scheduled for 12 rounds using the unified rules that you see on your screen. Jim, real quick, the 4 criteria that the judges will use to score each individual round: clean punching, effective aggressiveness, ring generalship, and defense, with a strong emphasis on clean, effective punching. Jim.
Let's go to ring announcer Michael Buffer.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the Mandalay Bay of Las Vegas, Golden Boy Promotions presents this next title bout, sponsored by Tecate Cerveza with Attitude Rockstar Energy Drink. Party like a rock star. Smart Communications and Southwest Airlines, the symbol of freedom. Brought to you in association with Top Rank Boxing, Romanza Boxing Productions, and MP Promotions. Sanctioned by the Nevada State Athletic Commission, the 3 judges assigned ringside, scoring this bout: Adelaide Bird, Chuck Jampa, and Dick Houck. And inside the ring, your referee in charge of the action, Jay Nady. And now, 12 rounds of boxing. This is for the NABO Bantamweight Championship. Fighting out of the blue corner, wearing red, official weight 119.5 pounds. His professional record, 30 victories, including 22 knockouts, Only 3 defeats, 1 bout even. From Davao City, Philippines, the challenger, Prince Diosdado Gabi. And fighting out of the red corner, wearing white, official weight 117 pounds. This 2004 Mexican Olympian now has a perfect professional record consisting of 15 bouts, 15 victories, including 9 knockouts. Damas y caballeros de Guadalajara, Mexico, the undefeated NABO Bantamweight champion, Abner Mares.
Abner Mares has never faced a southpaw in a professional fight. This particular southpaw, Gabi, is one of 5 on the card tonight. There was a time when you would go 5 years before seeing 5 southpaws on a big boxing card.
Do you think it has to do with the globalization of the sport? Are there more southpaws in other cultures?
Well, it's always been a tradition, believe it or not, in the Orient. You know, one of the most famous fighters ever come out of there way back about 40, 50 years ago was,
Flash Elorde?
Flash Elorde, who was a junior lightweight champion. But it's very common, and a lot of those guys are coming from kickboxing backgrounds also. But
where they stand in the southpaw stance?
They stand in the southpaw style a lot.
And then, Larry, you actually asked yesterday, are there any Filipino fighters who are conventional stance fighters? And I think Ray Boom Boom Batista was, incidentally.
We've seen a few, but we've seen an awful lot of southpaws. Makes me wonder whether some of them are naturally right-handed and are converted to southpaws.
I think that's the case. In fact, I've probably had about 3 southpaws myself: Michael Mora, Jesse Benavidez, and presently Andy Lee. And all of those guys are really right-handed guys. They punch in the southpaw position, but they're really right-handed. As well as marvelous Marvin Hagler.
Well, this thing of turning around and putting the naturally stronger hand in front is something we're seeing more and more of throughout the sport because of the success of fighters like Moore and Oscar De La Hoya, a natural southpaw who fights in a right-handed stance. Yeah. And there are many of them that we could name.
And Pernell Whitaker.
Yeah, well, there has been a revolution since the 80s and with southpaw boxing with Hagler and Whitaker.
No, what's great about it is that there used to be a stereotype that southpaws had weak jabs and were basically defensive finesse fighters. Now we see southpaw sluggers, destroyers. Manny Pacquiao, #1, is the main event fighter tonight.
As a matter of fact, technically, the saying used to be southpaws were mostly smart technical fighters, and when you fought a southpaw, you crowded him, you put a lot of pressure on him, and you threw right-hand leads. That's not the case now. They are very aggressive themselves, a lot of them.
Meanwhile, here in round #1.
On the other hand, we get guys like a Bragimov.
Please don't remind us. I had already managed to forget. Hard right hand by Mares. Staggers Diosdado Gabi. Now let's see if Mares can find a way to finish him right here in round 1. That might be a little too much to ask for, but the right hand lands again.
Up until that point, I thought Gabi was winning the round.
Yeah, you really can see the weight discrepancy right now. Gabi looks much physically bigger.
But slower.
So much slower also. You're right, Joe. Then that's the difference.
Come on. Sit down. Good. Good. Give me that. Okay. Ice bag. Good. Okay, Gab, you got to stay alert. Keep them hands up in there, son, okay? All right? Put your hands down. Put your hands down. Gabby, keep your focus now, all right? Don't get sloppy defensively in there, you hear me? I need that good, sharp head movement, all right? Okay, baby.
Use the uppercuts, the left uppercuts. That hurts him a lot. Oh, it's nothing. Oh, your dad said you had blood.
Here you see Mares hit Gabby with a punch. It really didn't seem like it had that much power, but I think it was probably based on the fact that Gabby wasn't even looking for anything back. His whole mindset was on being aggressive. So the punch had a lot more effect than it normally would have had.
And round 2 begins. Gabby the southpaw in the red trunks. Abner Mares, of whom there are great expectations. Knocks him down with a straight right hand. You just don't like to see a guy gain 16 pounds overnight from an original weight of 119. It's not healthy.
And I don't think he's going to be able to survive because those guys are not trained how to clinch and survive. They're going to stand and fight all the way.
2 more hard right hand shots and a couple of left hooks. Mares is letting go. Second knockdown of the round. No 3 knockdown rule in effect, but Jay Nady makes a smart move in stopping the fight. There was no point in letting Gabi risk further punishment.
Mares is with the noted trainer we've mentioned so many times before,
Nacho Beristain.
Nacho Beristain, who is a proponent of technical boxing.
Used to be anyway.
But he says that he had to teach Mares how to take advantage of the power he was not exploiting.
Yeah, I first saw him about maybe a year or 2 ago. He was being trained at that time by Floyd Mayweather Sr. I saw him at the gym in Las Vegas. And since then, I guess his last 4 or 5 fights, he's been with Nacho Beristain. But he's a fundamentally sound basic fighter, and that's all it takes is basics.
Now here's the first knockdown. Straight right hand, thudding, down goes Gabi. And, you know, not to beat a dead horse, but I don't think it was a fair test. If a guy comes here weighing 119 and a half and puts on 15 and a half pounds overnight, it tells me he wasn't in shape for the fight.
Either that or they were taking him down in weight just to get the fight. This is a showcase fight for a young prospect, and he showed his stuff.
Because of the great success that Pacquiao's had here, he's really opened up the door for a lot of the fighters from the Orient.
But there's only one Pacquiao.
Well, Abner Mares will have some new fans in Mexico and in the USA. After that 2-round devastation of Diosdado Gabi. Let's go up to Michael Buffer.
Ladies and gentlemen, here at the Mandalay Bay of Las Vegas, referee Jay Nady calls a halt to the bout. The official time, 49 seconds. Round number 2, the winner by TKO victory. Still undefeated, still NABO champion, Abner Maquez.
Abner Maquez from Guadalajara, now 16-0 with 10 KOs. 5'5" bantamweight, possibly with a bigger than bantamweight future. CompuBox numbers, Gabi actually landed more punches. He was more active in the first round, but Mares' punches were the ones that counted.
Mares, even though he's from Mexico, born, but he was raised in California, fought a lot, had a big amateur background here in the United States, was a former national junior Olympic champion.
Went to Artesia High, out on the 10 freeway outside of Los Angeles, big basketball school. 2 bouts down, 2 to go tonight from Las Vegas, Nevada, still to come. Featherweight title holder Stephen Luevano against Thailand's Tertsuk Jendang. Then a main event, the rematch between Juan Manuel Marquez and Manny Pacquiao. Now let's look ahead to our next HBO pay-per-view event. Coming May 31, a make-or-break fight for 2 big-name fighters. Shane Mosley, coming off his 2 wins over Fernando Vargas and his narrow loss to Miguel Cotto, looks to reestablish his place in the welterweight division as he takes on former welterweight champ Zab Judah, who always seems to provide theatrics and entertainment and also looks to recreate his place in that crowded division. Mosley Judah, on HBO pay-per-view May 31. And our boxing calendar, March 22, it's a matchup of top lightweights on Boxing After Dark. Joel Casamayor, does he have anything left? Michael Katsidis, watch the bomber. April 12, a live doubleheader with 2 welterweight title fights. First, the rematch between Kermit Cintron and Antonio Margarito. Then Miguel Cotto against Alfonso Gomez. 1 week later, also live on HBO, light heavyweight Bernard Hopkins beats longtime 168-pound champ Joe Calzaghe, moving up to light heavyweight. And May 3, Oscar De La Hoya fights live on HBO against Steve Forbes from Los Angeles' Home Depot Soccer Stadium. For all that and more, log on to HBO.com. Referee's instructions from Kenny Bayless to Manny Pacquiao.
You'll clean it off and insert it back into your mouth without any instruction. Okay? Now, when you're working inside, if a glove goes under the arm, the other arm is free, I'm going to give you a chance to work out of that clinch. I might even say work out, punch out, but I'm going to give you that chance. If you don't work out of that clinch, I'm going to give the command break or stop. And at that time, I want you to protect yourself and take a clear step back. Now, when you're working inside, if the heads are coming close, I'll say, watch your head. If the punches are going a little south, I'll say, up, up, keep them up. If the fouls continue, I will stop the action. I'll look at that fighter. I'll issue him a hard warning. At that point, if it continues at my discretion, I will start deducting points. Man, if I feel that you deliberately commit a foul, I don't have to give you any warning. I can take 2 points off your score. Now, in the event that you guys are banging well, you knock your opponent to the ground, and from all the excitement, you hit him while he's down. That punch could be a 2-point deduction, or the severity of that punch could be a disqualification. And the same thing holds at the end of the bell. The bell sounds, he throws a late punch, you flip it, you come back and you hit him. That punch could cost you a 2-point deduction, or the severity of that punch could be a disqualification. So listen to my commands at all times. Everything should go well. Are there any questions?
Kenny Bayless is an athletic referee, quick and gifted on his feet. Larry Merchant, if ever a fight called out for a rematch, it was the first fight between Juan Manuel Marquez and Manny Pacquiao. Why have we had to wait nearly 4 years?
They just had to go in different directions, and I think a big part of it was that Marquez rejected an offer to fight Pacquiao. At that time, he thought he should get at least as much as Pacquiao or close to it. Rejected $750,000 and went and fought for $30,000 and lost his title, and has been battling his way back ever since, to his credit. Tonight, he's getting a guarantee of $1.5 million. So you could say that, in a sense, it's worked for him, at least economically, unless you want to look back and speculate that he would have won a rematch and would have changed his life back then.
How many of his business decisions have been influenced by his life in the shadows cast by Marco Antonio Barrera and Eric Morales?
Well, the other business decision that he made that was a bad one was rejecting an opportunity to fight Prince Nassim. Barrera took it, became a national hero, and went on to be the Barrera we know.
Later on tonight, Marquez looks for his biggest victory ever. And let's go to the tail of the tape now for Stephen Luevano versus Turdsuk Jandang. This fight takes place in the featherweight division, where Luevano holds a title belt. And you can see that Jandang is 1 year younger, 1 inch shorter. They're equal in arm length. They both weighed in right on the featherweight limit. Both have rehydrated significantly. Luevano up to 139, Jandang up to 138. Rules with our unofficial ringside scorer, Harold Letterman.
Stephen Luevano, Turdsuk Jandang fight is scheduled for 12 rounds using the unified rules that you see on your screen. Jim, real quick, the 4 criteria that the judges will use to score each individual round: clean punching, effective aggressiveness, ring generalship, and defense, with a strong emphasis on clean, effective punching. Jim!
Let's go to Michael Buffer for the official introductions.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again from the Mandalay Bay of Las Vegas, Top Rank Incorporated presents, in association with Golden Boy Promotions, a world title contest sponsored by Tecate, Cerveza with Attitude, Rockstar Energy Drink, Party Like a Rockstar, Smart Communications, and Southwest Airlines, the symbol of freedom. Promoted in association with MP Promotions and Romanza Boxing Productions. Sanctioned by the Nevada State Athletic Commission and WBO President Francisco Paco Barcarcel. The 3 judges at ringside scoring this bout: Dick Flaherty, C.J. Ross, and Paul Smith. And inside the ring, in charge of the action, referee Robert Bird. And now, 12 rounds of boxing for the WBO Featherweight Championship of the World. Fighting out of the blue corner, wearing yellow, official weight, 126 pounds. His professional record, 29 victories, including 19 knockouts, only 2 defeats. From Chumphon, Thailand, the WBO #1 ranked challenger in the world, Teretsak Pitbull Jandang. And across the ring, fighting out of the red corner, wearing black, official weight, also 126 pounds. This junior Olympic champion has a professional record consisting of 34 victories, including 15 knockouts, only 1 defeat. From La Puente, California, the reigning, defending WBO Featherweight Champion of the World, Stephen Luvano.
Let's go, guys. 1-1.
So you've had your instructions in the dressing room. Everything I'm going to tell you now is when I say stop, what that means is you stop whatever you're doing, give me a clean break. Protect yourselves at all times. Obey my commands at all times. Let's do it.
We have 2 southpaws in this fight, and if there's one thing a southpaw hates worse than fighting another right-handed fighter, it's fighting another southpaw, because they see them so seldom. The only terrific fight I've ever seen between southpaws was Kelly against Prince Nassim.
Kevin Kelly and Prince Nassim Hamed, what a gunfight that was at Madison Square Garden. Now you're looking at this and you're saying, oh, this is a setup. Luevano has a title belt. He's from La Puente, California, and I've never heard of the Thai fighter with whom he's in the ring. However, Teretsak Jandang has 29 wins, and his only 2 losses were to Juan Guzman and Juan Manuel Marquez, 2 of the top 20 fighters in the sport. So he has lost only to extremely high quality, and Luevano believes that he's in against a legitimately tough opponent tonight. And you can see from Jandang's legs alone that he's very strong.
And all of those guys from the Orient have big calves, they have big legs, all of them.
Jandang was a kickboxer who fought in what is called Muay Thai kickboxing in Thailand up until just 4 years ago, and he was better with his hands than his feet. He was a champion and elected to try boxing.
Right there you can see Luevano is really working by counterpunching. Every time that Jandang comes forward, he pulls back and throws a right hook, because Jandang gets off balance when he moves forward, especially when he throws his left hand.
Well, Luevano is quick, slick, and very relaxed. The shortcoming is power. Only 15 knockouts in his 34 wins.
Particularly a very good fight.
Good left hand that stunned Teretsak Jandang.
When you watch kickboxing in Asia, and I happened to be in Thailand 3 months ago and went to some club fights, they're all off balance in terms of boxing.
And I think that Luevano is going to take advantage of that tonight. As a fact, I think he's one of the best fighters I'd boxed today. Not just say young boxers. I think Luevano is one of the best balanced out technical fighters in boxing today. Very, very crafty. He does a variety of things and always is in a good position.
But he's very strong, obviously, very combative, tough guy. He just emanates toughness.
See, that's that counter right hook that he's working on continually. And it's giving Jandang problems because he's keeping that space between them so that whenever Jandang punches, he has to punch and run in at the same time. And that gives Levino enough room to pull back and hit him with a counter right hook.
Well, it's abundantly clear that Jandang, with his 19 knockouts in his 29 fights, and that body of his, sees himself as the puncher in the fight. He's dropping his hands. He's throwing wide winging shots. He's looking to try to hurt Luevano, but it's Luevano who has hurt him in this round.
He can't get his distance. He's trying to do things, but he's not used to someone that's pulling back all the time.
And if he looks across and sees Luevano, he's looking at a kid with a baby face,
there it is
pale
again.
skin,
and a lot of talent.
Looks like he got lost on his way to the junior prom and picked up a title belt.
I know who would be favored in an alley fight.
Okay, just wait for the rhythm. Wait for the rhythm. Okay, wait until you're the right position and hit. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Okay.
That round was beautiful, okay? Let's keep the same thing, okay? Same calm. Play with your shoulders, make feint. You know, he's trying to provoke you to throw punches. When you do, be very careful, okay? Feint, and then count.
Here you see the short, beautiful left hand, straight right to the point.
Perfect counter shot, and one of the giveaways that you're watching a great counterpuncher is when the number of punches attempted is virtually the same, but the connect punches are totally different. Luevano landed 15 out of 37. Jandang 5 out of 35. In other words, every time Jandang tried something, Luevano fired back with a counter shot, and he landed at a 3 times higher connect percentage. That's great counterpunching. He knows how to do it. Right there.
He's keeping that space.
And Jandang doesn't look like he really knows how to get inside effectively.
You're right, Larry. That's really the key to the fight, is the fact that he doesn't know how to get inside. And all of a sudden, Luevano may attack him when he's not prepared, because he's so busy trying to figure a way to get in and not prepared to get attacked himself.
Some blood dripping out of the right eye of Jandang.
It's an interesting weight class. Northern California, Gilroy, California's Robert the Ghost Guerrero has a belt and had a recent impressive knockout victory. And then the third fighter who has a belt and some prominence is a spectacular young prospect named Jorge Linares. He's raised in Venezuela, fights out of Japan, and is about as gifted a young fighter as we've seen in the sport in a long time.
Very, very talented fighter. It's interesting, all of these fighters that we're seeing, a lot of them coming from California, all had good amateur backgrounds, so they're all the products of the amateur program, from junior Olympics on up, which was kids from 8 or 10 years old. Most of them I saw in the amateur fights, and that's why the foundation is solid.
Well, and they're looking to replace the generation of Morales and Barrera and Pacquiao and Marquez.
Guerrero had a knockout victory last week over Jason Litzau, who has shown talent out of northern Minnesota, but often makes bad judgments in the ring. And Jorge Linares had a spectacular knockout victory a couple months ago against Gamaliel Diaz, a fight in which he once again showed that he can box, he can punch, he can defend, he can do everything.
The cut looks worse on Jandang's right eye right now.
What I was saying earlier about all of these guys from California having such good amateur background, it's just the opposite for the United States in the heavyweight division. They have almost no amateur backgrounds from America in the heavyweights.
Which is why we see refugees from other sports like Hasim Rahman, Jamil McCline, Michael Grant constantly infiltrating the heavyweight division in the United States.
Yes, and they can't hold up because when they fight these European fighters, they dominate because they have a better amateur background. It's not that they're that much better.
If you're not boxing when you're 12, you're behind.
Just wait for the rhythm, okay? You wait. Just wait, okay? Use a jab and use the other one, the other hand. The other guy hit the jab very well.
Careful. Make a mess and handle, right?
Se está desesperando. Usted está muy tranquilo.
All right, let's go, Steve.
Más rápido.
Nice.
Let's go.
When I attended those club Muay Thai fights in Thailand, the band played on during the fight, not between rounds. It was like a four-piece band clanging and banging throughout, trying to inspire the fighters.
Did you like that?
Well, it was part of a scene that I had never seen before. Colorful scene.
Jan Deng seems to realize that he's not going to win the fight or be effective fighting at the distance and the style that's going on. So he's going to try to step it up, it seems now, and just force it, even at the cost of getting hit with counter punches. He's going to try to get in close now and just gamble.
He runs the risk of making it easier for Luevano.
He's getting hit anyway. That's what he says. I may as well try to get on in close and do some damage myself.
Good jab by Stephen Luevano. Luevano is being trained as of 3 fights ago by Eduardo Garcia, whom you may remember from his involvement over the years with the young man who was like a son to him, Fernando Vargas. The elderly Senor Garcia, whose son Robert Garcia also trains fighters, is one of those true gurus of the sport. He can teach. And Luevano says that, for one thing, his conditioning has improved markedly under Senor Garcia, who works out of Oxnard, California. Luevano, as we told you, lives in La Puente and has been going up to Oxnard to train.
Jan Deng is fighting a much smarter fight now. Even though he's losing, he's closing the gap now. He's walking in, keeping his hands up high, and not starting his punches from too far back. Before he was punching from too long a distance. Now he's waiting until he gets closer before he punches. It has a much better round now. And his physical strength is becoming to be a better factor by getting in close.
Larry, between rounds, we're going to take a look at highlights from the fight between Juan Manuel Marquez, Rafael Marquez, I should say, and Israel Vasquez. Israel Vasquez now having won 2 out of 3 from Juan Manuel Marquez's younger and more violent brother. We're privileged to have these highlights from that early Fight of the Year candidate that took place on Showtime. Spectacular, blood-curdling combat between Marquez and Vasquez, as was the case in all 3 of their meetings with each other. Let's take a look. Larry?
Yeah, Rafael is not here tonight. He doesn't go to his brother's fights. They did train together up until a couple of weeks ago for this fight. There was a knockdown early. Rafael was moving up from bantamweight, where he was just maybe one of the best bantamweights of recent times, because he was so strong, much more prone to go for punching than his older brother was until recently.
You saw the point deduction for the low blow in the 10th round. That point deduction and this knockdown of Marquez in the last 20 seconds of the fight provided the victory margin for Vasquez, who wound up, as I say, with 2 out of 3 wins against Rafael Marquez. Nacho Beristain in Marquez's corner felt as though the judges had erred, but it was the kind of combat where ultimately who wins and who loses is less important than our memories of 3 brilliant fights.
Well, they've dealt a lot of punishment out to each other, but the chances are they'll have a 4th fight at least, because they can make the most money later in their careers between them.
If Nacho Beristain's heart can stand it. Harold, how do you have this through 3?
Okay, Jim. 3 rounds to nothing. 30-27, Stevie Luevano. Jim, I got to tell you, I loved your analysis about Luevano's counterpunching. You were 100% right. He's a real good counterpuncher. But the way to beat a southpaw is to get off first, and that's what Luevano's doing. If you watch this fight real close, Luevano, bam, bam, bam with that right jab. See, right there, 3, 4, 5, 6 left jabs. If you get off first on a southpaw, you keep them on the defensive, and they don't punch back. So 3-0, Stevie Luevano based on clean punching.
I think we've had this conversation before, Harold. I don't know why southpaws don't punch back any more than anybody else. Maybe when they're fighting conventional or orthodox fighters, but these are two southpaws. One of them is punching back after he's getting hit, Luevano. And they're being trained today just the way conventional fighters were years ago, when if a fighter walked into a gym and he was a southpaw, they immediately converted him into being a conventional fighter.
Luevano is building up some swelling on Jendang's face with the constant tattoo of counterpunch connects. And Jendang keeps walking forward, searching to land the big shot. We're expecting a full house here tonight. They began selling closed circuit tickets for other locations in Las Vegas a couple days ago. They handled the overthrow. Down goes Luevano.
I was looking at, he was getting closer and closer, meaning Jendang was getting closer and closer, where his physical strength I thought was going to be a factor.
Hey, look at me.
He wasn't giving Luevano enough space to time his punches. And you can see the difference in the strength.
Well, that was a time when the southpaw punched right back.
Jendang has his chance after having landed the big shot he was looking for. Luevano trying to get out of trouble.
Luevano looks like he has his wits about him.
Gets hit again.
Yeah,
maybe not all his wits. Now backs off Jendang with a couple of straight shots, and Jendang's right eye is bleeding. His left eye shows blood as well. And now down goes Jendang on a... Oh, and Robert Byrd is going to call it a slip. I thought it was a perfect counter shot.
I thought it was a slip, too. I figured he was throwing a punch and miss. But, judge's call, the referee's call.
Interesting round.
Very interesting round.
Both fighters tasted the canvas. Only Jendang gets credit for a knockdown.
Nothing, okay? Don't take any chances, okay? You got to get back to the jab and box him. Even right now, when you were hurt, you were still boxing him good. No, he's fine.
Yeah, you were still boxing good.
That was a knockdown right there, Rav. You got to be careful with that. You got to watch out. Because that was a knockdown. Okay? Very careful. Don't exchange punches, Steve. We don't want you to get back in.
Here you see it getting close. Short left hand right over on top. Luevano didn't see it because he was used to fighting him at a distance. He didn't see the punch. And right here, I guess you see where they had an exchange right here. And there you see what you think it was called a slip. I think it was one right here. It was more of a head, elbow, and off-balance position at the same time. That was a judgment call of the referee.
I don't think it was a knockdown. He knocked himself down in any event.
Luevano had a 40-13 connect advantage in the 4th round. Jendang had only 9 power connects, but one of them put Luevano on the canvas. So that's a significant turnaround in the fight.
Well, let's see how Luevano responds
to adversity.
I didn't particularly like the instructions from the corner, which was, don't take any chances.
That was Robert Garcia, Senor Eduardo Garcia's son. This is becoming a slugfest, and that's not the kind of fight Luevano wants to be in.
No. It's the other guy's physically much stronger, but you never can tell what happened. But the guy's much stronger. He needs to try to create that space that he was operating from in the beginning. But it's very difficult now because Jendang is picking up the pace on him a little bit more.
Well, as we told you at the beginning, despite his anonymity here in the United States and the anonymity of all the people he's beaten on his record, Jendang's only 2 losses were to Juan Guzman and Juan Manuel Marquez. In other words, 2 of the top 20 fighters in the sport. So unless Luevano is one of the top 20 fighters in the sport, he's got to be sure to stick to his P's and Q's. Good right hook.
John Dang is coming at him so hard that those right jabs are really thundering into his eye, and his face is starting to swell up badly.
Luevano is fighting a very good fight. You know, just so much you can do. You can't just run from anybody. You got to still punch enough to make the man respect you. And I think he's changing directions, doing a lot of things, and not giving a stationary target to John Dang. Knowing that he's got to watch out for that short left hand all the time. But that's really the only thing he has to look out for the most part. So a smart fighter should be able to neutralize one single punch.
Luevano just picked him apart in this round.
Yeah, he's fighting a very smart fight, you know.
That's all.
Next fight up is the main event. That man, Juan Manuel Marquez, looking to prove that he was in fact the better man when first he fought Manny Pacquiao 4 years ago, and after Marquez was crushed to the canvas 3 times in the first round, he had the edge, and the rest of the fight wound up with a draw. Although one judge scored it 115-110 for Marquez. Another judge scored it 115-110 for Pacquiao, who was going forward the entire time and was the aggressor, as has been the case in all of his fights. By this point, Manny Pacquiao has become a better boxer with a much better right hand than was the case back in May of 2005 or 2004. How big a difference will that make tonight? There are a lot of big shots at ringside, including that one. Mike Tyson, seated about 4 rows back and enjoying the craft of Stephen Luevano and Turzak Jandang in this last preliminary before the main event in the featherweight division. Luevano with a 28-4 connect percentage by CompuBox count in the 5th round. A round he dominated with craft.
This is a very good fight between southpaws. It's a theme I've been mentioning earlier in looking up some of the history. Before Hagler and Whitaker in the 80s, there was exactly one champion over the previous 80 years of any significance who was a southpaw. Tiger Flowers, middleweight champion in the 20s. One. Today we take it for granted that we're going to see a lot of them.
Well, just take, for instance, the Ring magazine or ESPN.com top 5 ranked fighters in the sport. Manny Pacquiao is a southpaw. Joe Calzaghe is a southpaw.
Those two of the best southpaws we've ever seen, perhaps. Hagler would be on the top, and maybe Whitaker right behind him.
But those two guys don't fight in the tradition historically of southpaws. They both are very busy pace-setting southpaws and not technical counterpunchers.
Michael Moore was the first southpaw to win a heavyweight title. Chris Bird won a piece of a title. Winky Wright, Antonio Tarver.
And the list goes on and on and on, and it will continue to proliferate as the sport becomes more and more globalized. Just a few weeks ago, we saw a southpaw with a heavyweight belt, for whatever that means, practically nothing in some instances, fighting in Madison Square Garden. The way he fought, he doesn't deserve to have his name mentioned here.
I think he embarrassed southpaws, who generally have embarrassed the game or at least they used to. But can you imagine, over a period of 80 years, one southpaw champion of any note?
It's amazing. It's really. I mean, imagine if you had said that, you know, Sandy Koufax and Steve Carlton were really the first dominant southpaw pitchers in baseball. Well, that wasn't exactly the case.
Leavano is fighting a really wonderful technical fight. He's boxing, mixing up things, not running, which I like. You can't run from a man. I mean, if you're a man, you got to be respected as a man and not run. But he's fighting a very smart fight and systematically busting up the facial features of Jang Dang, which is, I think, is going to be very important going down the stretch.
Okay.
Relax, relax, relax.
Just relax. Wait for the rhythm, okay? Make a good hit.
Okay? How you feeling? Huh? Feeling good? Tired, not nothing? All right? Then let's keep doing the same thing. A lot of footwork, all right? Make him miss and hit him with 2 or 3 punches and move again, all right? Don't exchange. He's already all beat up, all right? Keep beating him up like that, okay? We're halfway.
In the last 2 rounds by CompuBox count, Stephen Luevano has had a 58-10 advantage in the number of punches connected. That is his answer, in effect, to the knockdown he suffered 3 rounds ago. Harold, what do you have now?
Okay, Jim. 5 rounds to 1. 58-55. Stephen Luevano. You got to give Jandag an extra point in round 4 for that knockdown. It was a clean knockdown. There's no question. He does deserve an extra point. But, Jim, if you ask me what ring generalship is, you're seeing it tonight. Stephen Luevano moving side to side, setting up that beautiful right jab that he's carving up Jandag with. You know, and he gets out of harm's way when Jandag comes in and tries to nail him. That's ring general. He's controlling that ring beautifully. 5-1, Luevano.
And his cornerman, Garcia, Robert, and Eduardo both gave him good instructions. So to keep doing just what you're doing, busting him up, moving, changing directions, and not going straight back. Systematically breaking him down.
Go ahead.
This is an example of a well-schooled fighter fighting a raw fighter who has no serious background in the sport, but is just very strong.
Very strong and still dangerous all the time. He's still punching with full force, and you cannot make any mistakes with him.
What I like about Luevano is that he's throwing stiff punches. He's not just trying to touch him.
No, he's punching with authority. He's making the man respect him. You know, he could be running and punching very weak, but you know, acting like a punk or something. But he's making this man respect him coming in by landing with clean punches and with power. He's not physically as big or strong as this man is, because he still has a boyish type body, but he's punching with enough authority to get respect still.
Also, when I was in Bangkok, Jim and Emmanuel, the English newspaper there covered a lot of boxing. It was a revelation to me to see so much boxing coverage in a general newspaper.
I'm so glad we're back to the subject of Bangkok, because I was just about to point out that if listeners are paying a lot of attention, they're learning a great deal here tonight. We've had the discussion of southpaws, and we've had various other academic treatises. The only thing we don't know is, where else did you go while you were in Thailand, Larry? What other events did you check out? Or should we save that for another time?
I'm not going to talk about the elephants I rode.
And they're not going to talk about you. 4 years ago, May 8, 2004, one of the most memorable and unusually scored fights in the recent history of boxing. Round 1, was a near annihilation of Marquez by Pacquiao. Straight left hand, dumps Marquez onto his seat. About 20 seconds later, knockdown number 2. Just before the end of the round, knockdown number 3. And when Marquez got back to his corner, trainer Nacho Beristain said, okay, that was what you weren't supposed to try. Now let's try what I told you to do in training. And from that point forward, Marquez carved out a counterpunching masterpiece, strafing Pacquiao with straight right hands, ultimately taking away some of the dynamite from Pacquiao's straight left. Then in the late rounds, Pacquiao came back again, putting Marquez back on the defensive. 3 different scorecards, one of them for Marquez, one of them for Pacquiao, one of them for dead even. You had a draw.
Well, the importance of that fight, I think, also for Marquez, is that it showed a part of him we had never seen before, which was his tenacity, his heart, whatever you want to call it. He had always been in such control that he had never suffered that kind of adversity. And we saw him come back, and he saw himself come back. And that contributed to his changing some of his methods of fighting.
It was also a perfect illustration, was it not, Emmanuel, of what was great and what was not great about Manny Pacquiao. The speed, the violence, the power in the left hand, that was obvious and apparent. But the one-dimensionality became more and more apparent as the fight went on, and as a result, he's changed since then.
Yeah, in fact, he was so one-dimensional. I mentioned it on air that if any way that Marquez could avoid getting hit with the straight left hand, he would change the whole fight, and that's what he did. And once he avoided the left hand, he won from that. But I forgot that Marquez actually had his nose broke too on top of that. So he went through 11 more rounds with a broken nose and knocked down 3 times and still came back and for the most won the fight, except for the technicalities up to the first round.
And Manny Pacquiao says that he suffered a hairline fracture of his left hand on the second knockdown in the first round, and that had something to do with what happened later on. And hidden within all of these things were some amazing nuggets from CompuBox. For instance, who landed more power punches in the first round? Marquez did. Who threw more power punches in the fight? Marquez did. Low blow by Dendang. Robert Byrd giving Stephen Loevano a chance to recover, and if you've been with us before, you know that Loevano has 5 minutes, and you know that very few fighters ever use anything close to that much time to recover. What's your philosophy about this, Emmanuel?
Well, you know, it's up to the fighter. Most of the time, the protective cups kind of protect you. A lot of blows don't really be that bad. They usually land on the cup, but this is where his head was pulling down, so I don't think it was intentional. At the punch that started going to the body because of the way that his head was full, ended up going lower than it should have. So it was not intentional.
That action, in my view, accounts for about half the low blows we see and half the low blow penalties we see.
A lot of time the guys are pulling their head, pulling the guy's head down, either pushing the elbows down, forcing the blow to go low.
Robert Byrd asking the official timekeeper for a timing. How much time does Loevano have left?
Ready to go?
Probably fewer than 2 minutes have gone by, and now Stephen's ready to fight.
Stop! Stop. Don't push. Don't push. Go.
Dendang is moving in still with a lot of intensity. He's getting a lot closer to Loevano this round. They got to watch that left hand. He's still trying to land that left hand.
Whoa, 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 guys. Whoa, whoa, whoa. No wrestle. Don't wrestle. Here we go.
Dendang is all brute force at this point.
So how did Manny Pacquiao change his game as the result of what happened in the latter stages of the Marquez fight and Even more to the point, what happened in his first fight with Eric Morales, where Morales was able to control him and out-duel him with the jab, well, he developed his right hand and added to that brilliant straight left a terrific right hook and a powerful right uppercut. And this is what's made him, Emmanuel, one of the top 3 or 4 fighters in the sport.
Yeah, that was one of the things he had. He always had simply a left hand, and then he would always be out of position after he threw the left hand because he threw it with so much power that he would like walk forward with it. But now that he's developed his right hand, he's become a much better balanced out fighter.
And after losing the first decision to Morales, he knocked Morales out twice. When he fought Marco Antonio Barrera in San Antonio, he knocked Barrera out in the 11th round, and then won the rematch with Barrera last year en route to tonight's assignment with Juan Manuel Marquez.
I've always thought that as essentially a one-handed fighter, and he sure made a lot of hay with that one hand, that when he knocked Marquez down 3 times in the first round with that left hand, why would he have to try anything else?
But after a while, the sports fighters figured him out, and that's what Morales did and Marquez. They avoided the straight left, and then they took advantage of him when he would be out of balance.
And the answer to your question, Larry, was the first Morales fight, where he just didn't have enough variety in his game to beat the very skilled Eric Morales. It was certainly different in fights 2 and 3. Luevano with a 37-10 connect advantage by CompuBox eyes in the 8th round. Jandang has connected on double digits only in 2 rounds in the fight.
If I was in Luevano's corner, even though he's fighting a good fight, I feel he's winning, I would always be very nervous and on edge because this guy is still coming in with a lot of pressure. And the power has not decreased at all on the part of Jandang. He's punching with full force and even with more urgency.
And if the fight is going to go the distance, then the personalities of the 3 judges scoring the fight will come into play. Sitting across the ring from us is the judge who had Corey Spinks beating Jermaine Taylor in Memphis back in December of 2006, which I thought was one of the most questionable scorecards I've seen in the sport in recent years. And banging away with the right hand again.
Don't do that.
Robert Byrd says to Luevano, don't do that. Don't turn him around and spin away from him.
Stop. Stop. Step out. Step out.
Do you think this is an easy fight to score, Emmanuel?
It's an easy fight to score and a tension fight if you had Luevano's corner. As you know, he's doing everything. He's changing directions. He's making Jandang use his feet a lot more probably than he's used to, because a lot of the guys in the Orient, they just go forward. But at least he's making them have to keep changing directions and doing a lot of different things. But it's strictly a Luevano fight, outside from the knockdown.
Yeah, the Corey Spinks fight against Jermaine Taylor was in May of last year, not December of 06. That fight was Kasim Uma. So the scorecard I'm talking about was within the past year. The judge across the ring is the guy who had Spinks beating Taylor.
We asked him why he quit kickboxing. He said it was too easy.
Stop.
This ain't easy.
Stop. Step out. Stop. 5 seconds to the bell. That's all.
Take it easy, okay? Don't rush. Go stay inside. Okay, hit a good one. Okay, make sure all the hits are good. We have to knock him out. If you want to win, we have to knock him out.
And you beat him, and he just blocks. Keep doing that, all right? Once in a while, throw a good up.
Dry up, Red. Dry up.
And the 9th round, Luevano's connect advantage by CompuBox count, 43-6. His 43 connected punches and his 91 thrown punches, the high for the fight for Luevano. Harold, how do you have it coming to the 10th?
Jim, 8 rounds to 1, 88-82, Stephen Luevano. Jim, for a minute, let's talk about that low blow in round 8, okay? If you get hit by an accidental, and let me emphasize, accidental low blow, the referee will call timeout, send you to a neutral corner where you have 5 minutes to recover from an accidental low blow. Basically, the rules say that the protective cup is, solid enough to protect you, so you can't win. If 5 minutes go by and you can't continue, you lose by abandonment. So that's what Robert Byrd did. Gave Luevano 5 minutes. Luevano started, back again after 2 minutes. 8-1, Luevano.
As a matter of fact, we had a fight earlier tonight when the same situation happened. The guy got hit with a low blow, went down. He had 5 minutes to recover. He still said he didn't want to fight, so they awarded the victory to the guy who had knocked him down with the low blow. And he lost by technical knockout.
Yeah, and that rule is in effect so that a fighter doesn't fake going down in a fight he's behind in and gets away with no decision.
I'll be honest with you, the one that ended like that, that's what I felt the guy was doing too. I thought he was trying to find a way out. And that's what the referee did. Instead of disqualifying the corner, he just called him a technical knockout loser because he didn't get up.
So, Larry, you think that Muay Thai kickboxing might not have re-architected Jendang's facial features the way tonight's counterpunching exhibition has?
Not likely at all. Most of the kicking seems to go to the legs. But you can see where he must have been some tough customer when you take a look at the strength in his legs.
He's a tough customer here, just technically outgunned by Stephen Luevano.
Most fighters or whatever you call them in the martial arts that I see, they don't know how to get leverage on their punches. They're off balance for punching. Occasionally we see this fighter get in very good balance to deliver punches, but he can't maintain it because his footwork just isn't consistent enough.
There's a low blow by Luevano, and Jendang backs off as if to say, wow, that was a serious pop below the belt, but it was on the side away from Byrd.
I thought it was more on the high part, the high part of the cup. I don't think it really seriously hurt. A lot of time you rather get hit there than to get hit with a body punch.
In recent fights, and most particularly after the loss to Chris John in Indonesia, Juan Manuel Marquez, by CompuBox count, has thrown an average of 12 more punches per round. Here he is against Tim Rex Haka on HBO's Boxing After Dark, trading shots in an all-out slugfest, looking like his brother Rafael fighting against Israel Vasquez. Larry, good idea or bad idea for Marquez to throw so much more and take more punishment in return?
He acknowledges that at this stage of his career, if he wants to keep going, if he wants to make the kind of money that the great featherweights of the last decade have, he has to take more chances than he used to.
Now, trading punches with Marco Antonio Barrera last year, he clearly won the fight. But he was also knocked down on a Barrera right-hand shot in the 7th round. Though it was not ruled an official knockdown, it clearly was a knockdown. Later in the year, he was rocked by right hands from Rocky Juarez. So both Manny Pacquiao and Juan Manuel Marquez can be expected to be trying to make some technical adjustment tonight. Pacquiao back toward the violence and the unrestrained aggression of what he was in 2004. Marquez back toward being a more controlled counterpunching technician with a safer approach. Which of those two adjustments do you think is more difficult, Emmanuel?
I think both guys are going to go back to fighting their basic styles. I think that Pacquiao is going to be aggressive, coming all out. And I think that Marquez is going to do a combination of trying to be technical and fighting. But he's going to have to fight with Pacquiao. Pacquiao's going to force him to fight. He just can't outbox Pacquiao.
Right.
He's going to have to fight it.
And that's the issue for Pacquiao. Can he force him to fight enough? to overcome the technical difference between them.
Now, I've talked all night about Stephen Loevano's effective counterpunching against Turtsuck Jandang, but he's also jabbed brilliantly in the fight, averaging 20 jab connects per round for an overall margin of 205-47 coming into this round. We're in the 11th of a scheduled 12. As you know, if you can read graphics.
Stop! Go!
Loevano's trying to reposition his mouthpiece as Jandang chases him around the ring.
But as I've said before, Jandang has only one punch, and that's what he's only got to watch out primary for that chopping left hand. He only throws his right hand to the body for the most part when he's in real close. But you got to watch out for that chopping left hand.
Now, did his mouthpiece get knocked out and he caught it himself?
Yeah, I think that's what happened.
Second spectacular mouthpiece play of the evening.
Watching out for that left hand.
Jandang on a one-punch basis is dangerous.
Yes.
If he could follow up, there you go. If he could follow up that 1-2 Loevano and come back with the finishing left hook, he could maybe close the show.
Jandang fans the breeze, looking like Billy Crystal trying to hit a slider. And Loevano takes a walk around the ring. And incidentally, Crystal might have taken a walk if he had taken the 3-2 pitch.
ตัวทำได้ตัวทำได้นะ Don't take Tirina.
Stay close. Take some water. Stay close and use the uppercut. Use the right hand. Use only the uppercut. Okay.
This is your fight. Don't make any mistakes, okay? Don't make any mistakes, okay?
He's gonna come off great.
Keep that jab going. He's gonna swing wild, make a miss, and tap him and move.
Here you see Jandang land one of his favorite shots, a left hand, even though it was caught on the glove, it had so much power, it temporarily stunned Loevano, and you see him grab his own mouthpiece and reposition it again, which is amazing.
Seated several rows away from us, Mike Tyson. Remember Mike roping for the mouthpiece along the side of the canvas in Tokyo as he was counted out that night against Buster Douglas? Trying to put it back in with his glove, just as Loevano did. One of the most poignant pictures ever on HBO Boxing.
Watch your heads, guys. Watch your heads.
Jandang almost looks as if you can't hurt him. I mean, he's hurting.
He's like a tank.
You know, it's he's taken a serious beating in this fight.
Well, Juan Manuel Marquez got a 7th round technical knockout of Jandang, and that shows you how destructive Marquez has become.
Do that one more time, I'll take a point. You understand? Don't do that.
Loevano is punching and pivoting and turning and changing directions continually throughout the whole fight now, which is smart. When a guy like Jandang's legs is tired, instead of giving him a straight line target, he's making him use his legs by turning and twisting and pivoting.
Jandang went the distance all 12 rounds with unbeaten Juan Guzman of the Dominican Republic. But as Bob Arum pointed out after Guzman's fight against Humberto Soto, Guzman is a little more safety first than his skills and power might suggest would be the case.
Yeah, very beautiful fight to watch, very crafty, very intelligent, but still, you know, he's a showmanship, but not that type of a puncher.
Crowd comes alive as Jandang lands a big left. Doesn't have the balance to follow up.
and he's in fatigue. Very difficult for him to get done what he would so much love to get done.
Straight left hand by Luevano brings more blood from the right eye of Jandang.
Punch him out, punch him out, let's go. Stop, I got you, stop. Let's go.
This has been a very tough fight for a young fighter like Luevano right here.
Good experience if he comes out of it all right. There's never been any doubt as to who has the edge in craft, in skill. But that tank of a body has made Jandang a threat.
Yeah, but even glad it's a 12-round fight and not a 15-round fight, too. Because as bruised up as he is, meaning Jandang, he's still a very dangerous guy.
And Luevano is keeping his distance, making sure to make it to the belt. Robert Guerrero, Jorge Linares. The possibility that either Rafael Marquez or Israel Vasquez might someday move up to 126 pounds. Very interesting weight class in which Stephen Luevano finds himself. Harold Letterman's final scorecard. He gave 2 rounds to Jandang, including the 4th, in which Jandang scored the clean knockout of Luevano.
Knocked down.
Or knocked down, excuse me. Thank you very much. Richard Flaherty of Massachusetts has judged 20 title fights. As I mentioned, last May he had Corey Spinks beating Jermaine Taylor, winning 9 of 12 rounds. That night, I was scathing and saying it was maybe the worst big scorecard I had seen in a title fight in quite some time. C.J. Ross, 6 title fights. Luevano over Davis in an easy win for Stephen Luevano, not too far back. And Paul Smith, 36 title fights, including Marquez's 116-111, which was the consensus score in Marquez versus Barrera last year. Michael Buffer apparently already has the scores, so let's see what they are.
Ladies and gentlemen, we go to the scorecards. Dick Flaherty, 118-109. C.J. Ross and Paul Smith, 119-109, all to the winner by unanimous decision. Still WBO featherweight world champion, Stephen Luevano.
Final CompuBox numbers will show the huge margins by which Stephen Luevano outdistanced Turtsuck Jandang in the fight. Luevano landing nearly 300 more punches, throwing more than 300 more punches, and 48% is an extraordinarily high overall connect percentage. It means that Luevano probably landed nearly half his jabs. Indeed he did. 40 out of 534, and I am told by CompuBox that that is a record for the number of landed jabs in a 12-round fight in the featherweight division. Never before in a featherweight fight, counted by CompuBox, has a fighter landed 240 jabs. And he landed 54% of his power shots, and as I have mentioned many times, when a fighter lands more than half of his power shots, he is almost a certain bet to have won the fight. Good fights, an ideal buildup for a long-awaited absolute must event. It happened May 8, 2004. Manny Pacquiao and Juan Manuel Marquez fighting to one of the most unusual draws in the recent history of the sport. At that time, instinctively, you would have said within a year, we're going to see the rematch. It's been nearly 4 years, and thank heaven that Manny Pacquiao and Juan Manuel Marquez are both still at or near the top of their games. Let's get ready for a great main event. Both can box, both can punch, both have the hearts of champions.
It was a first round no one expected.
Manny Pacquiao is a storm. This is why we use the word sensation. Third knockdown of the first round. Juan Manuel Marquez hasn't ever seen anything like that.
And a comeback no one would forget.
There's a hard right hand by Marquez that jolted Pacquiao. It could be the comeback of a lifetime for Juan Manuel Marquez.
Marquez is making the stand of his life.
Fire against fire, down the stretch. Pacquiao's left, Marquez's right. What a battle.
We go to the scorecards. The bout is a draw.
In the 4 years since that decision, Manny Pacquiao's career has exploded.
Another huge left hand by Pacquiao. Punch deal buildup for a long away. Good fights. An ideal buildup for a long-awaited, absolute must event. It happened May 8, 2004. Manny Pacquiao and Juan Manuel Marquez fighting to one of the most unusual draws in the recent history of the sport. At that time, instinctively, you would have said within a year, we're going to see the rematch. It's been nearly 4 years, and thank heaven that Manny Pacquiao and Juan Manuel Marquez are both still at or near the top of their games. Let's get ready for a great main event. Both can box, both can punch, both have the hearts of champions.
It was a first round no one expected.
Manny Pacquiao is a storm. This is why we use the word sensation. Third knockdown of the first round. Juan Manuel Marquez hasn't ever seen anything like that.
And a comeback no one would forget.
There's a hard right hand by Marquez that jolted Pacquiao. It could be the comeback of a lifetime for Juan Manuel Marquez.
Marquez is making the stand of his life.
Fire against fire, down the stretch. Pacquiao's left, Marquez's right. What a battle.
We go to the scorecards. The bout is a draw.
In the 4 years since that decision, Manny Pacquiao's career has exploded.
Another huge left hand by Pacquiao. Punch after punch after punch. Manny Pacquiao has the knockout.
Meanwhile, Juan Manuel Marquez's star dimmed to barely a flicker until he revived it with a victory over countryman Marco Antonio Barrera last year.
Uppercut for Marquez. Left hook. Barrera stunned and in trouble. Marquez looking to knock his man out.
Through it all, one question has lingered. Who is the better fighter? Tonight, the answer finally comes. A rematch 4 years in the making. It's Juan Manuel Marquez versus Manny Pacquiao next. So at long last, it's time for our main event. Juan Manuel Marquez against Manny Pacquiao. Since last they met, the two fighters have taken widely divergent paths to get here tonight. No matter, in the ring, all is equal between the two men who fought to an epic draw. Here we go. Marquez versus Pacquiao is being brought to you by Mandalay Bay, boxing at its best. Tecate Beer, cerveza with an attitude. And by HBO Pay-Per-View, the best in pay-per-view entertainment, brought to you by HBO. 2 weeks ago, Juan Manuel Marquez's younger brother, Rafael, lost an absolutely thrilling split decision to Israel Vasquez. No one would have complained if either fighter had been declared the winner. Tonight, will Juan Manuel be able to match his brother's feat of courage and skill and top it by earning a victory? Manny Pacquiao also has a younger brother, a boxer named Bobby, but there's no familial competition since the elder Pacquiao is clearly the superior fighter. Filipino pride is what drives Manny Pacquiao, and that pride will be in full bloom tonight. Will it be enough against the craft of Juan Manuel Marquez? We'll soon see. And we're back live at ringside once again with HBO boxing analyst Larry Merchant. Larry, so many times in his career, Juan Manuel Marquez has gone into the ring actually to face three fighters, the opponent and his Mexican countrymen, Marco Antonio Barrera and Eric Morales. Both of them are faded now. Is this the night when Marquez can finally shed those shadows and move into the spotlight by himself?
We all like to believe that with one fight or even one punch, you can change everything in boxing. And sometimes it does happen. But can you change a decade of frustration of being overshadowed by two more crowd-pleasing, dynamic stars like Morales and Barrera? It took just a little bit too long for Marquez to learn that prize fighting is more than just bloodless technique. Nevertheless, tonight, if he can steal the drama once again from the drama king of boxing, Pacquiao, give us another thrilling night. That will be accomplishment enough. What you do under the lights, Jim, is more important than what you do in the shadows.
Indeed, the lights are hot. What a crowd. Emmanuel Stewart, conventional wisdom is that now at age 34, antiquity for this weight class, Juan Manuel Marquez is 4 years older, whereas Manny Pacquiao is 4 years better. What's your take on that?
I don't necessarily buy it. I think both guys are fighting pretty much to the peak of their game. I think that Pacquiao still has a little bit left. But I think that Marquez is still a good fighter, particularly his last fight when he fought Barrera. He really impressed me. He was a balanced out, aggressive puncher, boxer. And tonight, he's going to have to fight Pacquiao, because Pacquiao doesn't have all of the other talents that Marquez has. Marquez is a better technical fighter, he's very intelligent, but he still has a job of dealing with just that brute strength and intensity and power of Pacquiao, because Pacquiao would be doing that for 12 rounds. Unlike a lot of other big punchers, such as Mike Tyson, he was good for the early rounds. Pacquiao is going to be firing missiles at him from the 1st to the 12th, and he's going to have to fight Pacquiao. He's not going to be able to run from him.
And behind us, it's become a great tradition in the sport. The fiercely energetic crowd, half Filipino, half Mexican, battle lines drawn. Let's go to Michael Buffer for the pageantry.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the first of 3 national anthems. Here to sing the national anthem of the Philippines, please welcome the lovely and talented Sierra Ana Soto.
Bayang magiliw, perlas ng silanganan, alab ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, duyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulupig, di ka pasisiil, sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong bughaw. May dilag ang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang kislap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagniningning. Ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may di magdidilim. Lupa ng araw ng luwad at pagsinta, buhay langit sa piling mo. Aming ligaya na pag may mang-aapi ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, here to perform the Mexican national anthem, a legendary performer from Mexico, please welcome Teo Gonzalez.
Mexicanos al grito de guerra, el acero apresta y el bridón, y retiembla en sus centros la tierra al sonoro rugir del cañón. Y retiembla en sus centros la tierra al sonoro rugir del cañón. Ciño patria, tus sienes de oliva, de la paz el arcángel divino, que en el cielo tu eterno destino por el dedo de Dios se escribió. Mas si osare un extraño enemigo profanar con sus plantas tu suelo, piensa, oh patria querida, que el cielo un soldado en cada hijo te dio, un soldado en cada hijo te dio. Mexicanos al grito de guerra, el acero aprestad y el bridón, y retiembla en sus centros la tierra al sonoro rugir del cañón. Y retiembla en sus centros la tierra al sonoro rugir del cañón. ¡Viva México!
And now, ladies and gentlemen, here to sing the national anthem of the United States of America, a young lady 14 years of age, whose heritage is Filipino Mexican-American. Please welcome Jasmine Villegas.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose bright stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets ran loud, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Tail of the tape for Juan Manuel Marquez and Manny Pacquiao. A 5-year age advantage for the Filipino star. Half-inch in height for the Mexican star. Arm length advantage of 1 inch measured from the armpit to the end of the fist for Pacquiao. They both weighed in within a pound of the 130-pound weight class limit. Tonight, Marquez has rehydrated up to 141. Pacquiao adding 16 pounds overnight, has a functional 4-pound weight advantage unofficially going into the ring. CompuBox numbers from the first fight. Larry Merchant, what do you see here?
The landed punches virtually equal. Pacquiao more active, which resulted in him getting the credit in a few of the late close rounds.
Rules of the bout, whether unofficial ringside scorer Harold Letterman.
The Juan Manuel Marquez Manny Pacquiao fight is scheduled for 12 rounds using the unified rules of the Association of Boxing Commissions. There is no 3 knockdown rule. Only the referee can stop the fight in case it is caused by an accidental headbutt. We go to the scorecards after 4 rounds have been completed, and you cannot be saved by the bell at any round, including the 12th and final round. Jim.
By the estimation of both Ring Magazine and ESPN.com, these are 2 of the top 5 fighters in the world. Marquez is the one who has an official 130-pound title belt, so Pacquiao will enter the ring first, but they are fighting for the vacant Ring Magazine belt.
Suffice to say, the winner of this fight is the man in the 130-pound weight class, as well as still one of the top 5 fighters in the world. I think it's a tremendous surprise, given the shape in which Pacquiao appeared yesterday, that he has put on unofficially 16 pounds, more than 10% of his body weight overnight. That surprises me very much. Emmanuel Stewart, what do you think?
I've always felt that he's about 7 pounds of natural body weight mass bigger than Marquez, and I think that's going to be a factor tonight. I think he's physically very, very, very strong.
And this is probably one of the reasons. This is one of the reasons why they want him to go to 135 pounds. Does his promoter and his handlers immediately after this fight. So Pacquiao is trying to become the world champ at 130 pounds in what amounts to his last fight at 130 pounds, if all goes according to plan.
In fact, he won his first world championship, I think, was about 106 pounds, 112 pounds, when he was only 19 years old.
And tonight, he will make in excess of $5 million.
And he deserves it. He is a major, major attraction.
Which means that he makes a great deal more than does the older Juan Manuel Marquez. And that's a function of the fact that Marquez has never been able to generate the same kind of link with the audience. It's late in his career, but Larry, you've already touched on this subject. That's a part of his goal tonight.
Well, Marquez is the champion, but Pacquiao is the attraction.
Still in all, he'll be getting more than $1.5 million, probably his top purse.
And as you listen to this crowd, once again, we remind you, for the 10th time in his last 11 fights, Manny Pacquiao is fighting against a Mexican opponent. He has become, in effect, an icon for Mexican fans, as well as for fans in the Pacific Rim and the United States. And Marquez, who spent much of his career battling the images of Marco Antonio Barrera and Derek Morales, now says he's here to avenge their losses to Pacquiao. Irony upon irony, politics making strange bedfellows, the crowd at a fever pitch. Let's go to Michael Buffer.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the Mandalay Bay of Las Vegas, Nevada, USA, welcome to the main event of the evening. 12 rounds of boxing for the WBC Super Featherweight Championship of the World. And recognition by the Bible of Boxing Ring Magazine for the true World Championship. This is a presentation of Oscar de la Hoya's Golden Boy Promotions and Bob Arum's Top Rank Incorporated in association with Romanza Boxing Productions and MP Promotions, along with HBO Pay-Per-View. Sponsored by Tecate Cerveza with an Attitude, Rockstar Energy Drink, party like a rock star, Smart Communications, and Southwest Airlines, the symbol of freedom. Sanctioned by the Nevada State Athletic Commission Chairman John Bailey, Executive Director Keith Kaiser, and the WBC President Jose Suleiman. At ringside, the 3 judges scoring this bout, Dwayne Ford, Tom Miller, and Jerry Roth, and inside the ring, in charge of the action, referee Kenny Bayless. And now, we've met the promoters, sponsors, and officials. Now it's time to meet the stars of the show. And that means it's time for the most famous phrase in boxing history. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble! Fighting out of the blue corner, wearing white, official weight, 129 pounds. Professional record, 45 victories, including 34 knockouts, 3 defeats, with 2 bouts even. From General Santos City, Philippines, the challenger, former WBC flyweight world champion, former IBF featherweight world champion and current WBC International super featherweight champion, Manny Pacquiao. And across the ring, fighting out of the red corner, wearing black, official weight 130 pounds. Professional record 48 victories, including 35 knockouts, 3 defeats with 1 draw. Damas y caballeros de Ciudad de Mexico, 4-time world champion, former WBA, IBF, and WBO featherweight world champion, the reigning, defending WBC super featherweight champion of the world, Juan Manuel Dinamita Marquez.
Okay, trunks are a little high here, so punches in this area will be considered a good punch. Punches here will be okay. Now, gentlemen, we went over the rules in the dressing room. I want to caution you to keep the fight clean at all times, protect yourself at all times, and what I say, you must obey. Touch up. Good, good. Buena suerte.
It seems that both fighters for 4 years have been leading up to this one night. And here it is.
Is it round 13 of the first fight, in which case Marquez's technical skills could be the difference? Or is it a different fight because Manny Pacquiao has progressed so much as a boxer and has so developed his right hand in the 4 years since the first fight? There's the straight left hand from Pacquiao to start the violence.
And it was followed by a quick little right hand.
But before Pacquiao throws his left hand, and usually most of the time he drops it a split and winds up on it. So it's interesting how he's been able to hit so many people with it. It's not really a direct short punch, but he just throws so many punches.
Well, and it's so fast. You know, power is a function of strength and speed, and there's no faster power punch than Manny Pacquiao's left hand.
But you said something the last fight when he fought Barrera that was interesting, that Manny hurts people with punches that are grazing punches. A lot of time he don't even land directly on the chin, which means he must be what we call him to be just heavy-handed. Even grazing punches he scores knockdowns with oftentimes.
Marquez is being careful early on to control distance, staying at range where Pacquiao has to come forward to try to find him, moving back and then stepping forward to fire that right hand. Just as was the case in the early stages of the first fight, it's Manny Pacquiao's left hand against Juan Manuel Marquez's straight right.
And you see what Marquez is doing, and trying to wait till after
right hand by Marquez.
Because Pacquiao gets out of position when he throws his left hand.
The timing of the action so far belongs to Marquez, who has been able to blunt Pacquiao with his feet as much as with his hands. This is much more of a chess match than what took place in the first round on May 8, 2004. Hard left hand by Pacquiao. Good body shot by Marquez. Drives Pacquiao back. Marquez trying to land a jab. First time he's really unfurled that. Pacquiao reaching with his jab. 10 seconds to go in the round. Any closing statement? An attempted body shot by Marquez. And he misses with the right hand to close out the action.
Tactical, not torrid.
Good. All right, man. Just back this guy up with that double jab a little bit more for me, okay? All right?
Hey. Right here. Real good, real good. Use the counter punches. The right straight or the right hook?
Here you see what may have been the most significant punch of the whole round, in the entire round, was a straight right hand right on the chin directly from Marquez.
CompuBox numbers in round one belong to Pacquiao, landing 12 out of 49. Marquez 6 out of 43. Pacquiao did land a couple of stiff left hands.
Pacquiao has a really good upper body rhythm. He moves in and out. His body's always guarding, going left to right, which makes it very difficult to land punches on him also.
Pacquiao now looks like he wants to make Marquez fight him more than box him.
Pacquiao was sensational in 2006 with 3 straight victories, including his 2 knockouts of Eric Morales. He was quite successful last year as well, with a knockout of Jorge Solis and a decision over Marco Antonio Barrera. But some ringsiders sensed that he wasn't as violent, wasn't as destructive as he had been in the past. In response to that, Pacquiao says he's trained harder for this fight, was more focused for this fight, is ready to be the old Manny Pacquiao again. The body looks terrific. A reaching left hand for Marquez.
But I watch when Pacquiao gets out of position, when he throws his left, he doesn't get as far out of position as he used to be years back. He may throw his left hand and get out of position, but he tries to get back right away.
Body shot by Marquez. Pacquiao lands his left hand. Marquez momentarily dipped.
Did he dip or was his legs buckled? You know, we've talked about the importance of this fight for Marquez. It's also important for Pacquiao. He's established his greatness in the lower weight divisions. This is an opportunity for him to vault into the higher weight classes and make even more of himself.
Marquez has landed 2 lead left hooks in this round. Not hard shots, but he's getting leather there. That's quite unusual against the southpaw stance.
It's very unusual. He's really setting the counterpunch, Pacquiao. That's what he's trying to do. But Pacquiao is not getting it out of position as much as he used to. But Marquez is trying to, every time he comes in, he's trying to punch and come back.
Another hard left hand for Manny.
Manny's got a hard rhythm. You really can't time his movement as easy as it used to be. He always got his in and out rhythm. Even there, he didn't get hit with clean punches.
The right hand by Pacquiao got through, but Marquez has been more effective in this exchange.
Uppercut by Marquez. Huge left hook. Buckled Pacquiao. Big punch for Marquez to punctuate the second round.
You can't handle your speed. You've got to use the double jab and put that left hand right behind you, okay? Yeah, that's good.
Lively, lively. When he throws that straight punch to the body, come over in it. Kill him with the counter punch.
Muy bien.
Very nice, very nice. Lively, lively, because it's touching your body.
Here you see Marquez working his counter punch once again when Pacquiao got out of position again, coming in, throwing a left hand. Marquez took advantage of it, and I'm quite sure that's what he's been working on in training over and over and over. counterpunching Pacquiao.
CompuBox numbers already interesting. Pacquiao was seen to have doubled Marquez's connects in the first round. Marquez doubled Pacquiao's connects in the second round, 18-9. Harold Letterman gave the first to Pacquiao and the second Marquez.
You know, looking at Marquez's eyes, I see the same determination that I saw in Nate Campbell's eyes last week. Regardless of what the outcome is going to be, he's a very fiercely determined man in this fight here.
Well, in case you missed it, 36-year-old Nate Campbell produced the effort of a lifetime in beating Juan Baby Bull Diaz, 12 years his junior, in Cancun, Mexico last week. Straight left hand for Pacquiao. Marquez is moving back when Manny lands the left now.
Marquez is just simply trying to exploit any mistakes.
Absolutely, Larry, you're right.
And the straight right hand lands right down the pipe for Marquez.
You know,
Manny walked into it.
He's trying to live off the aggression of Pacquiao. The challenge is Pacquiao to make him regret that aggression.
And as the fight goes on, I see Pacquiao becoming tentative himself now. He's a little tentative about going in and being aggressive because he's been counterpunched 2 or 3 times now.
Yes, his timing hasn't been as good as Juan Manuel Marquez.
No, his timing, and it seemed like his confidence is not as good neither as it was.
And Marquez is effectively using his feet to get in and out.
Yeah, Marquez is fighting very smart, very confident. And I think that at this stage right now, Pacquiao is still a little too leery of coming in now.
They go head-to-head for a moment. Kenny Bayless checks both fighters. Back to round 3 action. Neither man has landed anything really big to the body. Marquez has been more frequent in going there. Straight right hand is the bread and butter for Marquez. Pacquiao comes back with a straight left. Manny tries to tee off with the left and gets it in there. This is a late round rally for Pacquiao.
But this can change back and forth from this right here.
Down goes Marquez on a straight left-hand shot. Perfect shot by Pacquiao. It may not have been a home run, but it was a double into the corner.
And Marquez is hurt. He's better be very glad that he's going to end that around. See, this fight can go like this all night.
Marquez almost went down a second time, and he almost went to the wrong corner as well.
Are you okay? Relax.
Get him wrong.
Relax, you okay? Okay, but careful with the exchange of the punches.
No te preocupes. Estás bien. Manny, remember, get that foot outside. Don't follow him. Get your foot on the outside, okay?
Here you see the knockdown right here. Beautiful short left. And it would have been down again the second time except for the ropes held him up. And then he came back and stunned Pacquiao slightly at the end of the round.
That was the same sequence of punches as the one that buckled Pacquiao earlier.
Marquez took an unwarranted risk looking to get at Pacquiao and paid a big price. Harold, how do you have it into the fourth?
Look at Jim, 2 rounds to 1, 29-27, Manny Pacquiao. You got to give him an extra point for that knockdown in round 3. He won the first round. I thought Marquez won the second. 2-1, Pacquiao.
Marquez trying to go back to the body and trying to go back to a more tactical style now. Pacquiao trying to search and destroy. Marquez trying to shock him with counter-punching aggression.
I'm really impressed with Pacquiao's. I'm really his timing and coordination, the way he's in and out his upper body movement. I've never saw him this good with his upper body movement.
And in that exchange earlier, he landed a really quick, solid right hand.
He is an amazing athlete. Just an amazing athletic specimen. The speed, the power, the dynamism, the stamina, the ability to keep doing it. That's why Manny Pacquiao is so great. It's almost as if Marquez has decided to face the inevitable. He can't back off.
Pacquiao's confidence is building up now, and he's shooting his missiles now.
Look at this.
Well, this is the kind of firefight that Marquez didn't want to get into, but Pacquiao is making him fight.
Yeah, you're not going to outbox Pacquiao. He's going to have to fight him. And Pacquiao seems to be stronger now. His confidence seems to have come back. And he's punching with so much power and confidence.
Good left hook by Marquez.
It's a measure of Pacquiao's improvement as a fighter, how measured he's been in this round. He didn't get too excited off of the end of the last round.
Marquez landed a solid straight right hand to punctuate the fourth round.
I'm done. Relax, relax. Deep breath. Deep breath. All right. Manny. Okay.
You're doing good. You're doing good. Just protect yourself. Except for the fall, you're doing good. Very good. Left, right, left to hook of the body. Work the body. He's coming in the left. Come on, look alive, look alive. Don't fall in this game plan.
Here you see Pacquiao land his patented right and straight left, following through right on the chin.
When we asked Manny Pacquiao yesterday what kind of fight he expected, he broke out in a big grin and said, hey, he himself said, meaning Juan Manuel Marquez, he said it was going to be a war. I'm very happy about that. Sometimes in this fight, it has become a war. And when it is, Manny Pacquiao, as usual, has the advantage.
Well, he loves to fight. You can see it in his eyes. I don't think there's ever been anybody in the boxing ring that loves to fight as much as he does.
That's a big statement.
Yeah, but he loves to fight. You can see it. And I think he would rather be doing this than anything else in the world.
Henry Armstrong?
I don't think he says much of this man. I've looked at this, looking at his eyes, you can see the intensity and the fierceness in him that says that he is a true fighter.
CompuBox numbers through 4 rounds found them landing an almost identical number of punches, 51 for Marquez and 53 for Pacquiao. Little to choose between the two, but it's Pacquiao who has put Marquez on his trunks.
At this stage, Pacquiao looks so sturdy and so strong mentally and physically.
2 good jabs from Pacquiao, something we seldom saw from the past.
Right hands by Marquez.
Good right hand lands for Pacquiao. Backing Marquez up. Juan Manuel comes forward. Reaching with the left to the body. Reaching with the left upstairs. Jab by Pacquiao. Great straight right hand by Marquez. Left hand lands for Pacquiao. Marquez was moving to the side. The right hand again. That's the scoring weapon for Juan Manuel Marquez, who has managed to keep it a boxing match in this round.
And he may have won this round too, because it's been a tit-for-tat round, and that was a good clean punch there.
Both men try to rally down the set and steal the round. Both men land a couple of punches.
With the hook, with the right. Remember, whenever you can. And use the uppercut. But remember, he's not in position for all the time for that. And your hands up, and the uppercut, right uppercut with the hook to the liver.
All right? Okay. All right, I want you to get busy out there. All right, now here, Manny, when you're first, you control him. All right? Yeah. All right, let's be first out there with that jab. Control him.
Yeah, once again, we see one single punch is probably the most memorable punch of the whole round, which was a straight right, but this time it came from Marquez.
CombiBox numbers in the fifth. Marquez 12 out of 38. Pacquiao 10 out of 40. Relatively slow pace for these kinds of fighters. 10 of Marquez's 12 connects with power shots. Probably almost all that straight right hand. His best tactic against Pacquiao. Already into the sixth. After all the waiting, nearly 4 years between fights, we're almost halfway through. Targeted right hand by Marquez.
Very smart. He started the right hand and waited until Pacquiao moved his head, and then he let it go after that.
Smart.
Yeah.
Body shot by Marquez. Nacho Beristain was asking for that. The left hand to the liver between rounds. There's a slight abrasion outside of one of Manny Pacquiao's eyes. The left eye, and that's what Marquez targets when he fires that right hand.
Yeah, he's pot shotting him right now. Manny has lost his rhythm. He's got to get his rhythm back.
Well, Freddie Roach said, I want you to get busy. That's really what Manny needs to do, is to go in and throw punches and bunches. His flurries and combinations destroyed Eric Morales. Right now, Marquez has got him back on a string. Body shot by Juan Manuel.
This is the pace where Marquez wants to keep the fight. At this distance and at this pace right here, where he's more effective than Pacquiao is.
Now Pacquiao gets in a good body shot. And Marquez tilts him a little bit with the right hand upstairs.
As I said earlier, anything can happen in this fight. I mean, one of these guys could get knocked down and come back the same round and knock the other guy down.
Hard right hand by Marquez. You see the difference in power. Now Marquez gets in a left hook. He's outboxing Pacquiao again.
Pacquiao looks physically much stronger, but at this round here, Marquez is winning the fight.
Well, he's neutralizing his left hand so far. He's not letting him dominate him with the left hand.
Keeping Pacquiao just conscious enough of his own right.
As improved as Pacquiao's right hand is, I would take my chances on him beating me with the right hand.
He hasn't been that figure. I think the biggest thing to me for Pacquiao this fight is that his timing and upper body movement and rhythm, in and out rhythm, is much better than I've ever saw it.
Little body punch inside from Marquez. Pacquiao reaches to the body, and Marquez hits him upstairs.
Counter punching, taking advantage of Pacquiao getting out of position when he throws his left hand. There it is, he tried it again.
In rounds like this, you can feel Juan Manuel Marquez outthinking Manny Pacquiao. Good right hand. Clearly, Marquez won that round.
on, boo boy. Deep breath. Come on.
Keep your arms down.
All right, Manny. You're letting this get away from you. You're standing right in front of this guy, letting him get off his combinations. Yeah.
7th round coming up.
You need to finish off your punches. You need to finish off your punches with the combinations. When you throw the right, throw the hook with hook to the left. And then the uppercut. Come on, you haven't thrown one. Throw to the body, throw to the body. Come on, his mouth is open already.
We go to the 7th of a scheduled 12. CompuBox numbers in the 6th were relatively even. To my eyes, it was clear that Marquez tactically won the round. Harold Letterman, what did you see and how do you have it?
Okay, Jim, I get it 3 rounds apiece, but in the all-importance category, 57-56 Manny Pacquiao, because of that extra point that he gets for the knockdown in round number 3. Jim, I agree with you. Juan Manuel Marquez doing a beautiful job with that right hand to win rounds 5 and 6. After Marquez won round 2. So 3-3, but Pacquiao by a point on a knockdown.
I have the same score. Isn't it interesting that it took a knockdown in this fight as it did 3 knockdowns in the first fight for Marquez to find what he wanted to do.
Hard left hand by Pacquiao. Marquez missing, coming back. If the fight follows its pattern of seesaw activity back and forth, then this will be a round that Pacquiao wins.
Yeah, but, you know, Marquez, this is really Marquez's style of fight where he's fighting, and technically where he can counterpunch, and he's a little bit smarter by keeping that space. But I just like the energy of Pacquiao. Even when he goes back between the round, he looks so much stronger, so much energy seems to be still in his body as compared to Marquez.
Juan Manuel landed a little left hook to the body. And sometimes a little left. Oh, and they have a headbutt, and there's blood outside the right eye of Juan Manuel Marquez. And Marquez with a look of disgust on his face.
Accidental headbutt.
Left-handed, right-handed.
All right. Time in.
Fortunately for Marquez, the cut is far enough outside the eye that I don't think the blood will affect his vision.
But I'm quite sure with Nacho Bernstein here have a good cut man in the corner also.
Pacquiao landed a quick right hook. Momentarily lifted Marquez off his front foot. Another left hand for Pacquiao. Marquez has to fight back. They're trading shots. It's a Manny Pacquiao type round.
Yeah, but Marquez is going to have to fight him. You can't outbox this guy. You're going to have to fight him.
He outboxed him for 2 rounds.
Well, after that exchange, Marquez was in balance, and Pacquiao was falling backward.
It's almost as if the sight of blood on Marquez's face has again brought out the tiger in Pacquiao. Marquez missing with that big right hand. Now he lands the right and drives Pacquiao back. Pacquiao with 2 hard lefts. They're fighting again in the 7th.
He's cut, he's cut. He's also cut. Oh, it's very little cut. It's very little cut. It's nothing. Don't worry about it. Don't be scared. There's nothing there. Nothing. It was a headbutt.
Manny, need some water? All right, Manny. That's the way to fight this guy. On your toes, in and out, speed. Manny, listen to me. He cannot handle your...
Here we see the headbutt, in particular the way that Pacquiao fights, because he lunges in when he punches. So whenever you get a butt from him, it's really a true butt. But it could have been either way. The other guy could have got cut. And right after you see us padding it, punching long 1-2. right jab followed by a long straight left.
In December, we saw a fight in Madison Square Garden between Shane Mosley and Miguel Cotto in which the two fighters landed 12 rounds, an identical number of punches by CompuBox count, 248 apiece. Through 7 rounds tonight, Marquez, by CompuBox count, has landed 93 punches, the same number he landed through 7 in the first fight, and Pacquiao has landed 91. An amazingly even fight, and the straight right hand by Marquez hurt Pacquiao.
I think it landed in his eye, Jim.
Yeah. That's what I mean.
He squinted his eye. He's not hurt, but now there's blood in the eye.
That's what I mean. He hurt him with that punch. He cut him, and there's blood on his eye.
It was from the blow too. It wasn't a butt.
That's damage.
Now both guys are now going to have to fight with him. The last fight, Marquez fought with his nose broke after the first round. This is living up to what it was expected to be, but a little bit more tactical. But still, the drama is still here.
The location of Pacquiao's cut, far more dangerous to him than the location of Marquez's cut is to him.
I think
Pacquiao is very bothered by it.
It's bothered him very much like Diaz was. Not just a cut, but it's bothered him.
That cut is right in the eyelid or in the eye. And you notice that Marquez immediately mixed in body punches to compound the damage. Left hook lands for Marquez, right on the cut. Pacquiao's going to try to come back. Marquez is more accurate.
That's a secret punch that if Marquez used more would be very effective and would change the whole fight. A simple left jab, which will control Pacquiao better.
Well, he can use it a lot more now if Pacquiao's lead eye is compromised. There's a perfect combination by Marquez.
And
he is swamping Pacquiao in this round, taking tremendous advantage of the tactical flaw that has been created for Pacquiao by that cut. Perfect uppercut by Marquez. Pacquiao trying to swing away with the left hand and turn things back around.
Pacquiao still punches with so much power with that left hand. And Marquez is exchanging with him, but his head is up a lot of times. And all Pacquiao needs is land one left hand punch, and he can change this whole fight again.
As Manny Pacquiao goes back to his corner, his cut man is the veteran Joe Chavez. And Chavez must now go to work. Suddenly, he's the most important man in the ring for Pacquiao.
Deep breath, Manny. Manny. Water.
Here we see the right hand that landed that really did all of the damage to the right eye of Pacquiao. Solid right, no head, but nothing accidentally or otherwise. And here you see a simple 1-2. Both punches landed to the right eye.
Pacquiao was more than a 2-to-1 favorite in this fight, which seemed to be high, and now it seems to be way more than high.
In round 8, 21 connected punches for Marquez, only 5 connected for Pacquiao. He only threw 25. He was trying through most of the round to recover from the badly cut right eye.
Look out, look out.
Pacquiao suffered a cut on that eye in his first fight with Eric Morales, and it was a factor in his decision loss.
Even though the betting odds have always had Pacquiao ahead, when you talk to general, not just the fans here, but general people I've been speaking to, everybody's been like split even. In fact, I would say probably more of them have been picking Marquez that I spoke to. And that was even before coming to the fight here.
Well, those are boxing people. They aren't the ones who make for the odds in the casinos.
Right.
That's about how many Filipinos bet on Pacquiao and how many Mexicans bet on Marquez. Hard right hand by Pacquiao. And incidentally, Chavez got the blood to stop. The swelling is still there, but it's not bleeding.
Yeah, so far both of the cut guys have did a good job.
Nacho Beristain does his own cuts in Marquez's corner. Again, Joe Chavez was the man who stopped Pacquiao's bleeding between rounds. Perfect straight right hand by Marquez. And the blood begins to flow again as Pacquiao reaches up and thumbs it with his glove.
That's the straight
left hand by
Pacquiao. Straight
Pacquiao.
left that I've been waiting on him to make, because Marquez is pulling back, but he's still real in a position to get hit with those left hands.
And the right eye of Marquez is now bothering him more than it did previously.
Hard left hand by Pacquiao drives Marquez back. Body shot lands for Marquez. This round is on the table with 40 seconds to go.
Yeah. But the momentum is going with Pacquiao now.
That's correct.
He's got his rhythm going again.
Yep. And he's getting some of his confidence back after it clearly wavered in the 8th round.
It may be a new cut over Marquez's eyes. One thing we can be sure of, when a Marquez gets into a fight, it's a fight.
Continue, but keep an eye on it. All right. Time in.
That's a second cut.
I believe you're right.
Over the right eye.
Yep. This is not the one outside anymore. This one must have been caused by a left-hand punch by Pacquiao.
It's good to have a good boxing doctor over there, Jeff Davison. Good doctor, because a lot of doctors panic and stop a fight.
Nevada's medical supervision is the best. They trade shots. What a war. Both men trying desperately to win the round.
Where's the Vaseline?
Abre.
Open up.
Yeah.
You stop pressing. You stop pressing. That's when he caught you. Press him. Press him.
Here you see Pacquiao is getting his range again and starting to find his target with that long, straight left hand. In fact, that's the punch, evidently, that probably caused the second cut.
CompuBox numbers in the 9th. My gosh, are we already in the 10th round? Marquez landed 12 and Pacquiao landed 13. And Harold, that wasn't an easy round to score. How do you have the fight?
Okay, Jim. 5 rounds to 4, 86, 84, Manny Pacquiao. Jim, I tell you, that 1.4%.
This all started with a brilliant Pacquiao left hand, which looked for a moment as though it was going to knock Marquez down.
And he just looks so strong, as I said, going back to the rounds. Even I look how Marquez walks, but he just looks weaker and don't seem to have the energy or the strength of Pacquiao.
Left hand clocks Marquez, and the blood begins to flow in his right eye. Big round for Pacquiao so far.
Pacquiao's right eye has been patched up well so far.
Yeah, Joe Chavez doing a fine job in Pacquiao's corner. And Nacho Beristain has an increasingly difficult job on his hands.
That's that second cut. The first one was bad, but the second cut seems to be really bad. In fact, the doctor was over there, Dr. Davidson was even seemingly considering maybe stopping it, or telling the referee that if it worsens to stop the fight.
It would be a tremendous disappointment if a fight like this was stopped on a cut.
Big disappointment, but I think the fans would understand it.
Both guys have been cut. Pacquiao ripping the left hand. Marquez coming back. What guts both fighters have shown tonight. Great right hand by Marquez. Pacquiao's mouthpiece drops out of his mouth.
And he wasn't hit. It seemed maybe he's getting tired.
Marquez goes after him, trying to take
unusual.
advantage of this. He knows that Pacquiao's lost his mouthpiece.
And maybe he's getting tired, too.
If he hits him right in the mouth, he could cut him. But it's Pacquiao who backs him off.
Yeah.
You're not pressing him. You're not pressing him. When you get the punch in, you're waiting. You're waiting, and then he builds. Come on, press. There's only 2 more rounds, Juan. Only 2 more rounds. Attack the body. Put the uppercuts in. Attack the body. Attack the body. Oh, strong. And he can't tolerate it anymore. If you hit the body, he's not going to take it anymore.
You see an unusual punch right here. You see Pacquiao duck a punch and just wing a punch, not even knowing where it's going, and it landed.
Blood is drama. We have blood. We have drama.
It would be no injustice if Jeff Davidson stopped the fight because of the cut over Marquez's eye. It is a brutal gash. But CompuBox numbers in the 10th were still almost even. Marquez 15 punches landed, Pacquiao 17 punches landed, equal in power shots. Manny's just happened to be the harder shots. What a great job Joe Chavez has done with Pacquiao's right eye. It's closing, but no blood has flowed for the last couple of rounds. Kenny Bayless tells Juan Manuel Marquez to keep him up.
Okay.
Pacquiao gets time to recover if he wants it.
Okay. Time in. Touch up, touch up, get up.
What a quick right hook by Pacquiao as Marquez was coming in. And it sets up a straight left hand that drives Marquez back into the corner.
Marquez is going straight back to get hit with those lefts, so he's not slipping his head at all. He's going straight back in a straight line.
Winging right hand by Marquez. Not as much power in that shot as when he throws it straight up the gut. That's the punch that can hurt Pacquiao if he lands a couple of them, or 3 of them. Pacquiao comes back with his own right hand.
Pacquiao blocked 3 punches in a row. A part of his game that you don't often see.
Marquez reaching over the top. Some of his punches are losing steam. When he throws the straight right hand, he's still got some steam.
Pacquiao's defense is a lot better than it used to be. Even though he's off balance a lot, you see Marquez punching. He half blocks and catches those punches where he used to in the first fight he was getting hit clean. But he's a little bit aware of punches coming back than he used to be. So he catches a lot of them on elbows and they're not as effective as it appears to be all the time.
Unless he has won this round, and that's iffy, Marquez is slipping into that area where he may need a knockout to beat Manny Pacquiao.
Bien, nada más que no lo den para
You're doing good, but don't let him build. Push him back, push him back. Attack the body, you have to attack the body, and then finish off with the right and the uppercut.
Uppercut hook. Come on.
Last round, Juan, you gotta come up with everything. Upper and the left hook.
I have this fight 6-5 for Marquez, which means that I have an even fight because of the knockdown by Pacquiao.
Well, that heightens the drama. Straight right hands for Marquez, 2 of them. Pacquiao's going to be looking to land one more big left hand at least. Sometimes judges score blood, and it's Marquez who has had blood flowing down his face in the last 3 rounds of the fight. Good uppercut by Marquez, sets up a straight right hand. Pacquiao comes running back at him, and Marquez almost tackles him in the middle of the ring.
If he can just stay away from Pacquiao's left hand, which is really the only thing he's in with, he has a good chance of winning this round, which could be crucial.
Solid shots by Marquez, and he ducks Manny's return
That was
left.
perfect. What he did just there, going underneath. There you go. He's got to keep doing that instead of going straight back.
Good left hand by Marquez. Now Pacquiao lands a solid shot, but up to this point, Juan Manuel is winning the round. We've got 1 minute to go. High drama in Las Vegas. We waited 4 years to see this rematch. Juan Manuel Marquez trying to avenge all of Manny Pacquiao's triumphs against Mexican fighters and driving Pacquiao back into the ropes. Marquez going out on his shield if he's losing and showing you all the heart that you might expect from a great, proud Mexican fighter.
Well, whatever the decision is one thing, but this round looked like Marquez is winning the round simply by avoiding those lunging left-hand punches, bending down, and Pacquiao doesn't have much more than that, and so he's beating with other short combination punches.
Now here comes the blood, and here comes the crowd on their feet. Everybody's up.
As long as he avoids that left-hand punch, he's got a good chance of winning this round.
One more right hand for Marquez. One more combination for Pacquiao. They trade shots down the stretch.
Hell of a fight. I'm calling it another draw.
Well, it's a great line, but not if you had it even coming to the last round, because it looked pretty clear that Juan Manuel Marquez won the 12th, although there it is. Harold Letterman gives the 12th to Pacquiao, disagreeing with us. So Pacquiao, a clear winner on the Letterman card, 15-12. CompuBox numbers in the 12th round. Marquez landing 19-15 for Pacquiao. I personally thought Marquez landed the solider shots in the 12th round.
I definitely think Marquez won that in every way in the 12th round.
Highlights of an extremely eventful fight. Reminiscent of their first fight in the sense that it was highly eventful. A seesaw battle. Round 3. Pacquiao knocks Marquez down. Maybe that will be the difference in the fight. Marquez came back to win the next couple of rounds after that. Then the headbutt in the 7th round, creating a cut on the outside of Marquez's eye. Seemed to energize Marquez, though, as in the 8th round. We'll see him land a solid combination, left and a right, perfect. Then in the 9th round, Pacquiao showing his strength and starting to take over. Straight left hand. That was the punch that opened up a new cut on Juan Manuel Marquez's eye. Marquez suffered in the last 3 rounds of the fight from the constant flow of blood in that brutal cut on his right eyelid. But he was still vibrant enough to come back in the 12th round with what I thought was a spirited rally, although our unofficial judge, Harold Letterman, gave the 12th to Pacquiao to give him a solid 115-112 score. Michael Buffer stands by to eliminate the suspense.
Ladies and gentlemen, after one of the all-time great 12 rounds in the super featherweight division, we go to the scorecards. Jerry Roth scores the bout 115-112 Marquez. Dwayne Ford 115-112 Pacquiao. Tom Miller 114-113 to the winner on split decision. And new champion from the Philippines, Manny Pacquiao.
The difference in the fight was the knockdown. 2 of the 3 judges, including Tom Miller, who created the difference here, gave the 12th round to Marquez. But at the end of the day, it's the knockdown that creates the 1-point margin for Pacquiao. Within the past month, both Juan Manuel Marquez and Rafael Marquez have lost brilliant, spirited, violent fights by a single point in split decisions. Final CompuBox numbers in the fight, and they'll be almost dead even in terms of number of punches landed. Marquez winds up landing 15 more punches than Pacquiao, an average of a little over 1 more landed punch per round. Lands at a higher connect percentage, 34% to 25%. Jabs and the edge here. Well, in a southpaw versus a conventional fighter fight, the jab is not a huge weapon for either fighter. Power shots are where the fight was decided. And Marquez landed more of them, and at a higher percentage. But Pacquiao landed the punch that put Marquez on his trunks, and that ultimately was the difference in the fight. Larry Merchant stands by with the winner.
All right, thank you very much, Jim. Congratulations, Manny. Were you surprised by the result? Did you think you had won the fight?
Yeah, I think I won the fight, and I really expect this fight is going to be hard because Marquez, he trained hard and he prepared this fight.
What did you see in him that was different from the first fight? What did you do to try to win this fight?
Actually, the last time, the first fight, he jabbed a lot and then now he didn't jab.
How much did the cut over your eye bother you?
Oh, it's really bothered me because I can't see my right eyes and then I can see his right and then right hands and hook. That's why I'm so bothered and I told my coach that make it heal so I can recover my style.
The difference in this fight proved to be your knockdown of him. Let's see if we can take another look at the knockdown and you tell us what happened. You tried the right hand and you missed?
Well, that's our plan. Number one plan for training is the left hook, and I'm lucky to hit that in that round.
Did he do a good job other than that of not letting you do too much damage with your left hand?
Well, I see Marquez this tonight a lot of improvement on the first one because he moved fast and he hit movement, have a head movement and more counter puncher.
Could you have beaten him 4 years ago with this style of fighting, or are you so much better now that you were able to beat him this time?
Well, I think I believe that I do my best tonight, and I'm happy because I win, and I really. It's a really hard opponent, Marquez. That's why I'm.
All right. We assume this is your last fight at junior lightweight, that you will move up in weight for your next fight. Is that true?
I don't know yet because I didn't talk to my promoter yet, and also my camp. And but we have a plan to fight on 135 pounds, but it's not yet fixed.
Thank you. Congratulations again, Manny. Juan Manuel, you fought a wonderful fight. First, tell us how bad was the eye through the late stages of the fight for you to be able to deal with?
No me afectó. Ese corte fue un cabezazo. Y bueno, la pelea todo estuvo bien. Sentimos que ganamos. Esa decisión no es justa.
It didn't affect me. It was a headbutt, and we thought we won, and the decision wasn't correct.
Once again, a knockdown proved to be the difference in this fight. Did you fight, other than that, the fight you wanted to fight?
Sí, buscamos la pelea. Nosotros estuvimos buscando. Lo lastimé 4 o 5 veces, lo puse mal. Y bueno, la pelea no es de otra vez, vuelvo al 2004, la pelea no es de un round, de una caída, es de 12 rounds.
Yes, we pressed and we hurt him 3, 4, 5 times, but like in 2004, it's not only just one round.
Do you feel that, in a way, this is the story of your career, that somehow this slipped away from you, for as well as you fought him both times?
No se me ha ido nada, yo hice un gran trabajo, la gente es el mejor juez, y la gente nos vio ganar y bueno, ¿qué puede hacer uno a esto? Estas decisiones hacen que un peleador se desanime o se haga más fuerte.
I haven't lost anything. I haven't lost anything at all. And the people will see, and the people know who really won the fight, and we will see. And the decisions like this one obviously is discouraged, but we believe we won.
Thank you, Juan Manuel, for another wonderful fight. Jim?
What an amazing show. And so reminiscent of the first fight, Emmanuel, in the sense that, once again, one judge pretty clearly scores the fight for Pacquiao, one judge pretty clearly scores the fight for Marquez, and the third judge has what amounts to an even scorecard, with the sole exception of the 1 point for the knockdown scored by Pacquiao. You could not ask for a closer fight, and in some ways you couldn't ask for a more exciting one.
That's right. It went pretty much as I expected. You know, it was going back and forth, and even when Marquez had been knocked down, I said anything could happen in this fight, because these are two warriors right here, and both guys, when they feel they're on the verge of losing, they get new energy, they come back. They could fight each other over and over and over. It would always be the same way.
And if all goes according to plan now, Manny Pacquiao, having just claimed superiority in the 130-pound weight class, is going to go on up to 135 to fight David Diaz for a belt that he holds, leaving Marquez in functional control of the 130-pound weight class at age 34.
He still is considered by most people as the #1 guy. If Pacquiao leaves the division, he's going to be considered as the champion. And I would love to see him fight again as soon as possible.
Yeah, we're bound to see both in more big fights in their careers. Maybe we'll see a third fight, although to me it seems quite unlikely that Marquez would choose to go to 135 to fight a guy who is clearly a stronger guy.
If the public demands and the money's there, I think these guys may come back in the ring and fight again at 130 again also.
Money always talks. Larry Merchant, you verged on the past in calling, or toward calling, Juan Manuel Marquez and his brother Rafael Marquez the greatest brother act in the history of the sport. Within the past month, they both lose violent, eventful prize fights by a single point in split decisions. It got to be the unluckiest family in boxing, at least the way they see it.
Yeah, it seems to be, you know, the story of their life somehow. I'm thinking now of an old Chinese proverb: when your house burns down, you can see the sun. And what Juan Manuel did after that draw 4 years ago was he rebuilt himself. He came back. He saw the sun. He came to this fight, but somehow, somewhere, he always falls a quarter of an inch short against the really special fighters that we have seen. But he himself is a darn good fighter, just as his brother is. Just that Manny is Manny. Pacquiao, wow.
Yeah, indeed. The excitement continues to be a tremendous hallmark of Pacquiao's career. And before we leave you, one more look at the three judges' scorecards just to underline the point we've made. Now, Dwayne Ford was the only one of the three judges who scored the 12th round for Manny Pacquiao. Had he turned it around and scored it for Juan Manuel Marquez, Pacquiao would still have been the winner on his scorecard. So Tom Miller's scorecard becomes the fulcrum on which Pacquiao gets the win, and the only difference there is the point that Pacquiao gets for his third-round knockdown of Juan Manuel Marquez. Jerry Roth, clearly preferring the counterpunching style of Marquez throughout the fight, had Marquez winning by the same score by which the first judge had Pacquiao winning. A near repeat of what took place 4 years ago. Well, it's been a great night. We want to thank you all once again for being with us on this HBO pay-per-view boxing event. Marquez versus Pacquiao has been brought to you by Mandalay Bay, boxing at its best. Tecate beer, cerveza with an attitude. Rockstar energy drink, party like a rock star. Southwest Airlines, symbol of freedom. And by HBO pay-per-view, the best in pay-per-view entertainment, brought to you by HBO. We'd also like to thank the following internet partners. And now, as my voice fades into the night for our entire crew, I'm Jim Lampley saying the last thing I'm capable of saying: good night from Las Vegas, Nevada.